T-minus 30 seconds. T-minus 20 seconds. Ten, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0.
You are now tapped into the coolest reptile podcast in the world. Welcome to Thursday night's Trap Talk Reptile Podcast, episode 422 with Riley Jimison of Riley Reptiles. But what is good, man? I'm your boy MJ. What's up, everyone out there? Happy Thursday. Woo! Thursday nights belong to the trap. And boy, do we have an epic episode for everyone out there. But check it out. If you're into keeping reptiles, either breeding or admiring or just, whatever, man, this is a podcast to be subscribed to. I put out 3 podcasts on this channel every week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursdays. I do not miss for now, by the way. But yeah, man, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, select all. You'll be on top of every single podcast. I'm also on all the major audio platforms such as Buzzsprout, Apple, Spotify. So don't forget to rate, review, and subscribe to no matter where you hear Trap Talk Reptile Podcast. But either way, wherever you listen to this podcast, thank you so much. It means a lot. Shout out to the early bird. Shout out to anyone who puts energy into watching this or giving me feedback. Make sure you drop some feedback in the comment section. Greatly appreciated. Now, if you're looking for exclusive content, if you want to be a part of a growing community, look no further than joining the Trap Talk Patreon family. Go down to the very first link in the description below. Click on it. Join the Trap Talk Patreon family. You get a link to the Discord, which will tap you in with over 185 trappers. Then you also get connected to the Instagram group chat, which is cracking. Just a way to grow, way to network, way to meet the best people in the reptile industry. And we're talking diversity, baby. Not just one species of reptiles. Super diverse. You can get connected almost anywhere in the Trap Talk Patreon family. And it's all because of the support. Love you guys. Love my family. Love my heart. Love all the love and support that I get from my Patreon members. Appreciate you guys so much. Don't forget to support US ARC first and foremost. Go down to the link in the description below. Click on it. If you don't know what US ARC is, I left that link for you specifically. usarc.org. Become a member. Those numbers are super important. If you out there support US ARC, thank you so much for being on the same team as me. Let's go ahead and do what we got to do and fight for these animal rights. Thank you, Phil Goss. Thank you to the entire US ARC team. Appreciate you so much. Tonight's episode is brought to you by the show that's happening in a couple days. Holiday Reptile Breeder Show, brought to you by Bomb Project, MORPH Market, and Ship Your Reptiles. This show's happening in downtown Los Angeles this Saturday, 10 a.m. to 5 p.m., and it's a free show, which is amazing, all right? Wide range of reptiles, amphibians, spiders, you name it. Catch a lot of amazing, cool stuff at this show that's going to be going down again December 9th, this Saturday. And how it's free, just go to reptilebreedershow.com, RSVP, and that's your ticket. All right. So you catch your boy MJ there. I'll be there with a few other homies, but there are a legit list of vendors who are going to be vending at this show. So it's a good way to see what animals are going to be there. You know what I'm saying? So cannot wait. Thank you so much, D. Thank you, KG, the Bomb Project, for throwing such an epic show in between shows, because I'm looking forward to checking this out. Callie could definitely use some more shows, and I'm going to be all up in that. See you there Saturday. Again, reptilebreedershow.com, RSVP, and I'll see you guys this Saturday. Looking forward to it. I want to say that tonight's episode is brought to you by my good homie. Well, I should say our good homie, Miguel Garcia, Always Evolving Pythons. One of my favorites, been my favorites in the ball python game, and has continued to live up to his name, even though so many doubted at one point. But you cannot doubt greatness. And AEP is on the up and up. Go follow his content, please. Instagram, Always Evolving Pythons, and on YouTube, Always Evolving Pythons. All right. Shout out to the entire AEP family. Big things popping. And that's my dog. Appreciate you, Miguel. Also, tonight's episode is brought to you by Freedom Breeder. If you got a Freedom Breeder rack, Pat yourself on the back. That's a professional level of reptile keeping or rodent breeding. The original stainless steel rack made in the United States since the 90s. OG shit. Shout out to Jesse. Shout out to the entire Freedom Breeder crew. Thank you for your 3+ years of love and support. You guys mean a lot, and also just huge influence to a lot of people who use your product here in the reptile industry. So again, thank you to Freedom Breeder. Appreciate everything that they do. Last but not least, if you got a reptile, use Ship Your Reptiles, the OGs in the reptile shipping industry. All right, the professionals, the pros use Ship Your Reptiles. Thank you, Chad Brown. What a legend. Thank you, Susie, another legend. My homegirl, Susie. Thank you so much for supporting the trap. Make sure you guys use promo code TRAPTALK. Take $15 off that next shipment, and you can thank me later. And yeah, early birds. I know the early birds are cracking. I'm going to get to you guys right now. If you're in the live chats tonight, if you think that if you are moved or you enjoy what you hear on tonight's episode between me and Riley have quite the history. We're going to let it all out tonight. I'm just saying, if you think that tonight's episode's worth of any super chats, don't be shy in the live chats, all right? Drop a super chat if you have a question, concern, whatever, certain topic that you want to hear us talk about. Drop a super chat. I'll prioritize it. But yeah, let's keep that energy going in the live chats like it is right now because it's banging. Let's see who's here. Shout out to the homie Mark Curry, Reptiles, Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Appreciate you so much, Mark Curry. Thank you so much for being here. Heath and Hatchery, my dog Brian, who I cannot wait to wear his merch. I have that, dude, that shirt is sitting perfectly somewhere. And when I wear it, it's going to be the perfect time. You know what I'm talking about. My boy Brian from Heath and Hatchery, Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Julio Fulio, my dog, Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Jordan Heartland Reptiles, Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Northwest Herpetological, the homie Zach, Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. The homie Ryan Manfredi, V Unit Family, Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Appreciate your support, dog. City Limit Exotics, homie Kenneth Jordan, what's up, player? James from All City Serpents, Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Celtic Reptiles, what's good, Celtic? Appreciate you so much. Eric's Morph Factory, Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Appreciate you. V Unit Family all day, every day. Manuel Noriega, did I say that right? It's a sick ass name. Sounds like a rapper name, or maybe like a, I don't know. Sick name though. Thank you for being here. The homie JD, Meteoric Serpents in the building. Trap Talk Patreon member, V Unit Family all day, every day. It's my dog. Colubrid Corruption, go subscribe to his podcast, please. Eclipse, Sweden, player in the building. Trap Talk Patreon family, be global. And this is my European brother right here, Eclipse from Sweden, tapping in. Appreciate you so much. Diego, the right hand, who I miss dearly. Cruz Family Constrictors. Diego, I miss you, buddy. I'll see you soon. Hey, yeah, are you going Saturday? Text me, please. Let's figure that out. Appreciate you so much. Cruz Family Constrictors, the homie Diego. Appreciate you so much. Trap Talk Patreon member. The homie Josh, Scale Fins and Feathers. Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. This was diverse and a lot of cool things in the reptile game. Tap in with them, please. The homie Chuck, Arizona in the building. What's up, Chuck? How you doing, buddy? 217 Pythons, the homie Big Will in the building. What's up, 217? Trap Talk Patreon member all day, every day. Ricky Bobby, the homie, my brother, Trap Talk Patreon member, the elite. Appreciate you so much, Shane. Thank you so much for being here. Big Keys, dropping threes, my dog. Keys Constrictors. Please subscribe to this man's YouTube channel. His hustle is second to none. I'm just glad to see this guy continue to do his thing because ain't nobody going to stop a G from doing his thing. That's my boy Keys. Appreciate you so much. Big Bosa. Bosa Reptiles in the building. What's up, player? Our mutual homie. Oh, my God. I want to say that, yes, you know what? I am dedicating tonight's episode to Force Fanning. But I want to dedicate some of this episode to Brandon Wheeler, too. Oh, 110%. Brandon is a huge, huge glue of what's about to go down tonight. Because I don't think if it was for Brandon, maybe I'll let me and Riley could talk about. I don't know. All I got to say is this guy right here, just like how Forrest kept me and Riley together, this dude, pause, by the way, but this dude kind of kept the glue going as far as what's about to go down tonight. So we're going to end it in style with Brandon Wheeler. Brandon Wheeler is the most players person in the chats right now. And please go give him a follow. Morelia House. He's an OG. He's my dog. But guys, let's do this. It's game time. I'm ready to rock and roll. I'm ready to finally do what people thought was never going to happen and bring Riley Jimison back to Trap Talk for many reasons, I guess. But we're going to get down to it. We're going to get down to carpets. All right, I think that's what I think the first thing we're going to talk about is carpets to get Riley really going. Let's talk about some carpets. Talk about a lot of great stuff. So, guys, do what you got to do to get your mind right. First and foremost, do what you got to do to stay hydrated because that's important. But episode 422 coming at you right now with my good homie Riley Jimison from Riley Reptiles. Let's go. Chee! You ready for do more in the future? Trap Talk podcasts?
Yes.
Man.
Only Trap Talk. Exclusive.
Yes.
Exclusive. Oh.
So stop calling us.
Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the drop, gotta love it or not. I'm hot from the hop to the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with everybody, we do it. Everybody, we do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up with the rub the spot, get the club to pop. When I come up.
And we're live, episode 422. Riley Jimison, what's up, buddy?
Not much. Thanks
How
for
are
having me on, man. Good to be chatting. Glad to be home off work and hanging out, talking reptiles and everything else. Before we get going, dude, your whole production level of stuff here is top notch, man. Like,
Oh, thanks.
I don't know how you do it. Obviously, you're very well versed in practice in it, but dude, this stuff is like I was taking photos earlier of like just like this layout and everything. I'm just like, I think it's pretty dang legit, and all the other media that you make for cross posting and everything is pretty dope. And then shout out to everybody who's tuned in and watching.
Yeah, chats are cracking right now, man. And you know, they should be because I don't know. You and I, like I said, we have history that goes back to even to people that are no longer with us, unfortunately. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And the very first podcast, you were on a podcast with Forrest and I. Correct me if I'm wrong. You were on Unfiltered. That was the very first time we ever did a podcast together, right?
Yeah.
And then you came on one of my very first shows, or your first few shows of Trap Talk.
Yeah, I was like in your first like couple dozen.
Yeah. And oh man, it's just crazy how quick fucking time flies, you know, because so much has happened. Like a lot has happened, not only just between us, but just in the hobby, like the growth of things, how many people have been in it. You know, I remember when I first came into this hobby and I was trying to get more tapped into the industry, I latched on to kind of knowing you at a show. Cause you know, when you first go to reptile shows, you don't really know nobody, you know, like, you know, and this is why I tell people to go. So you're not so awkward when you finally do go to a show, because the more you go to shows, the more you kind of are like, you know who the crews are, you know what I mean? And I remember you always being with Cusco. Do you remember that? Do you remember the Pomona where you got so fucked up that Friday, the Saturday you didn't show up?
Yep.
That was, yup.
Yup. Oh, that also ties into like a Forest memory, because that night was was a late night, and oh man, yeah, when we get into that stuff, that's like one of my funniest memories. But yeah, I do remember that. Brian, yeah, I used to do a lot of filming for Brian at the shows. When I lived in Santa Barbara, it was a 2-hour drive to go down to Pomona, Anaheim. When they were still doing it in San Diego, I was going to that one too, just working either with him or my local pet shop and just helping him with cameras and stuff. So yeah, it was a good time.
So, you know, how do you feel like right now, only with things are at within the industry, but just within your own collection? Are you at where you think you would be at, you know, thinking back in these days? Like, I don't really know what your goals were. I always knew that you were just a badass keeper. You're always happy about keeping things what you wanted to keep. Like, and that's one thing that stood out from you and like all the other ball python homies. I was like, I noticed Riley does Riley. He has his passionate projects. But you always kept it about that versus making going the popular route, which is breeding stuff for money. Like that was never really your thing, right? You always kind of stuck to what you're doing now throughout all these years.
I mean, I think I tried to do other things, and inevitably I was just fighting against my natural desire to keep what I am keeping currently. Right. Not that I wasn't keeping it then, but yeah, I was trying to do things that I thought were cool. I was still testing the waters, like when somebody gets a new species and they find out it's not for them, and 6 months later, they move it on. I think that's the most respectable thing to do. If it's not for you, don't, let the animal potentially experience any neglect because you're not that into it. And I think that's just how you learn. So earlier on, I think it was kind of a little bit more all over the place, kind of Noah syndrome. I got in and out of keeping and breeding ball pythons like in 2 separate chunks of time. Where I was like, I should move away from this. And then I was like, I'm around it enough and I was seeing it a lot. So I got tempted and got back into it again. And then like 6 months in, I was like, what am I doing? I already had this like realization. And so over time, I think I just naturally found myself enjoying what I have. And then just realizing like, look, the stuff that I'm moving on is at best second to the stuff that I'm keeping, and I'm clearly making subconscious decisions. And if I look around and pull myself out from like an outside perspective, the stuff that I've gotten rid of, I still enjoy, but I don't enjoy it as what I still have. So I just had to just quit lying to myself and say like, look, you just really, as much as like I love all species, I can't keep them all, so I should find out what I'm good at. And I've been pretty successful with keeping and breeding carpets, and they've really got me hooked. So that's been my focus. But naturally, I can't. Like the guys who keep only one species in a plethora and nail it, I envy that, but I can't do that.
That's dangerous to do. Like I feel like you got to have multiple. Personally,
yeah.
I feel like
yeah, it's just like there's too many snakes, too little time. When you watch like other people's channels or see other people's animals and photographs, it's hard not to be like excited when they're excited about something that you don't keep, and not get that contagious feeling of like, man, that's really cool. Like it's just, there's not really an ugly type of species out there, or an like unappealing species. There are ones that are unrealistic, but like, all the money in the world and all the space in the world, who wouldn't want to try and keep everything?
Dude, right? Okay, you want to know what really changed my perspective on hognoses? Because I wasn't really a hognose. Let's be honest. I like yours. You had some crazy Madagascar type hognoses, or dark. Those are the ones I ever really, that and the tricolor one. Are there tricolor hognoses?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think those were the only 2 like one-off. I'm like, okay, these are fucking sick, right? But overall, like I never really understood like the hognose like game.
Things are fun.
But after talking to people like Junior from JMG and talking to people like my other homie Alvaro who's tapped in, I was like, wait a minute, this is fucking sick, because they're showing shit just like what you have, like unique looking stuff that I haven't seen before. And also passion really shows a lot on the animal. When you have someone who's really geeked out of something and they go all out and present it the way that a lot of these people do that are on the forefront of these projects with reptile species, it's pretty impressive. Like it's, and I think that's what carries it. And honestly, dude, let's get right into it, man. Carpets, right? I always felt they're underrated for sure. Like I always felt like, but I felt like that happened more and more and more after I came in. I remember 2017 going to reptile shows. Was it Psychotic Exotics, that table? Yep. And I remember that was the table I was at the longest, just like going back and forth. And I just couldn't believe how fucking sick they were. But then I felt like after they stopped going to shows, it kind of just like, what's up with carpets, But, and then mind you, you and I, which we'll talk about later, but you and I went a couple years without speaking. So I had no connection to carpets. I was just wondering like, whatever happened to carpets? But they're around first and foremost, and they're fucking kicking ass. But what do you think it was, dude? Like, what is it? Like, why is carpets getting this kind of like little fucking redheaded stepchild treatment right now?
So I think there's a couple factors at play, and they kind of come from like the historical perceptions of carpets. And I would also like add a little asterisk that the East Coast always seems to be like 5 years ahead of keeping trends than the West Coast. So shout out to all the East Coast guys, specifically in like Pennsylvania, Maryland, New Jersey, like that area. That's where I find a lot of the older, more experienced veteran keepers that have been into them before they were even on the map for people, kind of reside a lot. But yeah, I mean, everybody knows the old rumors and wives' tales that they get 10 feet and they're big and they're bitey and, you know, all these different things. And then with like diamond pythons in particular, there's the old historical myth of diamond python syndrome, where like you can keep them for like 3 or 5 years and they just drop dead, but it just turned out you're keeping them wrong and too hot.
Almost like Bolins, huh? Almost how like the Bolins was like an impossible thing to keep at first, and now they're just trying to figure out how to breed it, which some people have out there. But I'm saying like almost the same sense, right? Like
yeah, very similar, you know, very similar. And I just think, you know, a little bit of that plus the fact that maybe Australia being so restricted and closed off, and it's just a limited supply in that regard, even though you still get some from Europe and folks like Paul Harris over UK Pythons. But yeah, I don't know. I still hear a lot of those old myths and rumors today when I'm speaking to folks. Like, you know, what they know is only that they get like 10 feet and they're these big, you know, bitey sort of like arboreal snakes. And I'm not saying in the wild there isn't a population of these large southern coastals that can get huge, that eat like small possums or wallabies or whatever. But like in the United States population, on average, they are 5 to 7 foot snake.
Right.
And you can really directly influence that with your husbandry and your feeding. But yeah, I mean, I think the more people that are experiencing them and opening up to them realize like, wow, these things aren't what I thought of. And yeah, these seem like interesting snakes. So there's a lot of missed opportunity there for people, but maybe they're not the right snake for everyone too. Like some people prefer stuff that's 4 feet and under. And so then a carpet python doesn't really fit that mold, you know?
Yeah. What I recently found out, not recent, well, obviously it was, I think right before I brought Nick Mutton on the show, that people like the Nido's real familiar, Nido's real popular in carpet collections, and it's a well-known thing in the carpet community, but they don't like to speak about it. And I don't know what's that all about.
I don't know, man. I feel like it's always been like a dirty little like shame. There's like a lot of shame attached to it. I think, you know, it's always been one of those things where like, especially early on when not a lot was known about it, it was kind of seen as like in the same realm of having mites. You just don't want it known out there, because even if you get rid of it or if it's not true or something, just a whisper of it can hurt reputations. You know, a reputation is a really big thing with folks who either live and die by breeding or are just coming up in it, or, you know, reputation can mean something in some instances. And so I think people are scared to have their name attached to that. And it's really sad, because I had a small population of snakes, about, I think it was limited to 1 pair. It was 2 actually. And I caught it that had Nido, and that was like 6 or 7 years ago. And I was able to isolate it, and it sort of weeds itself out if you know cross-contamination protocols and knowing how to isolate animals and look for things and disinfect and quarantine and all these different little things. But ultimately, especially when Nick was talking about it, he made some very good points. And I've talked to other folks that have worked with like Philippe de Vogely, who do a lot of testing in that regard. Yeah. And Morelia seemed to be the more prevalent genus of snakes where it's been documented, but it's also been documented in everything from like turtles to skinks to, you know, you name it. But carpets, just for whatever reason, seem to have a propensity for it, but they also seem to live with it quite well. And I guess it's pretty similar to like the asymptomatic chondros, that, you know, you can have like a whole Nido positive population of chondros that thrives. You know, you don't want to blend them like how Cody and Pia do it with their the separate group, you know. So carpets just seem to be in that same vein. And I think it just comes to a little bit of being embarrassed and ashamed of something slipping in. But, you know, when it comes down to it, it's just human error. It's new, we don't know better. So like, you know, got to learn from it. So.
Yeah. And I know, man, shout out to the Patreon group chat. And I'm blessed to have someone like you a part of that family, just because you bring such diversity, like the carpets, like we're talking about. And you're showing stuff that, like, man, that carpet you just recently got is fucking filthy, bro. Like that, oof, that's up my alley. You know what I mean? Because you don't see stuff like that, you know. But you know, do you feel like it's just a matter of time where maybe people like you who are working with the cooler, more unique stuff is going to kind of get the popularity back cracking again with carpets? Or do you think it's always going to be like the short-tail python game or other species that are just going to always have like just a low-key type of vibe to it?
I think somewhere in between that. I don't think it'll be as low.
Right, let me ask you, right? You would want them to get more popular, right? If it was your call, like, would you want them at least like a little bit more popping, or what,
definitely.
How would you want it? Yeah.
Oh, definitely. That's the whole goal with my YouTube channel, is that there's no carpet python content being consistently put out there on YouTube, and so that's always been like my underlying mission. Is at the very least, even if it's like a boring, uneventful video, if it's consistently got a theme of carpet python, even just, you know, even if it seems somewhat repetitive to me, putting it out there is good, because I'm constantly having folks discover the channel and new people come on and finding it. So even if it's repetitive to me, I got to remember it's still being put out there in perpetuity. And so there's always people coming into it newer. And so just stay pushing the gas pedal a little bit. But if I'm being honest, I think they'll never reach, you know, like ball python or even hognose status. They do have morphs, they do have localities, but they are a touch in the size where it's like, it does take some consideration in terms of space for an adult, if you want to do a nice cage. So like, it's not as simple as going to mom and dad and being like, hey mom, can we just throw an adult carpet right here in my bedroom? It's like, wait, that's a 4x2x2 at least, sort of thing. So it takes a little bit.
Especially if they're getting a young one, they're more likely getting a nippy one, because they're all like that. They're all little kind of like spatty.
That's the other thing too, especially if you go to somebody who's like really just trying to hustle them out the door and they're really fresh. They haven't really got the experience yet. They don't really know what being cared for is. They're just like trying to process stimulus on a daily basis, and they're very instinctual, even multiple generations out. Like, some are better than others, but you know, carpets right out of the egg will bite you sometimes. And they eat really well, but eventually they settle down. But I mean, I'm not gonna lie, I would be lying to you if I told you they're the most tame, amazing pet snake ever. No, I'd say like 75% of them are. And you can really quickly figure that out. But the one thing that I always tell people is a baby can always be handled and socialized and worked with. So even the nastiest ones can at least be manageable for a breeder standpoint. Obviously, that's not ideal for somebody who's just looking for a pet. But like, I've had folks hit me up and they say, hey, I just want something pretty. I want it as a pet. And then they put money down and they're like, you know, I'm not in any rush to get it. Would you mind just handling it for a couple weeks? And I don't do it often, but for people who like I know are really nice, or if it's the right situation, going to like a kid or something like that, I'll definitely do my best. But I try to let people know, like, you know, they're still scared. They're learning. We're a really big potential predator and a threat to them. They've got to really learn these things. And so if you just kind of work with that understanding and kind of take baby steps and treat it like daily socialization and training, you'll realize very quickly that they're very intuitive, they're very engaging, very active snakes, and they can be some of the most fun animals to just handle and hang out with. They're not going to be like racing and ripping all over the place like you got a striped racer running all over the place, but they're not just going to sit still, completely sedentary. So they're kind of in between. So.
Yeah, you know, I mean, there's just, you know, we're talking about like species that are on the underrated list, you know, or on, I guess, the unsung hero type list. And there's a few colubrids out there too, you know, not hognoses, but like, there's more colubrids out there that I feel like will pick up steam with time. You know, I just mentioned my buddy's podcast, JD, the Colubrid Corruption podcast, and he's kind of like yourself as far as like, you know, he knows what he likes and he's gonna fucking just go all in on it, you know, and let people know about it, and whoever wants to roll with them rolls with them, you know. But with you, like, have you always kept production steady, or have you been kind of just like taking it slow, or like where are you at, you know, compared to how you were like 3-4 years ago as far as carpet python productions go?
Shoot, I mean, the last 3 years have been like my most exponential growth in terms of production.
Wow.
Okay. Yeah, it's interesting because I've you mentioned Psychotic Exotics earlier. They were the sort of like the premier California West Coast carpet python breeder,
right.
That by Kerry King. He has since dissolved the business and sold it, and Todd's off doing his thing. And you know, Todd and I are still very close, and we keep in touch. He's a mentor and a great friend of mine. Love that human being to death. He showed me a lot, taught me a lot in the early years. But yeah, when I was first getting into it and learning, I couldn't just peg one like subspecies or one particular, like I didn't want to just start with jungles and then grow from there. I was just like in love with all of it. I was like, I need that, I need that, I need that. And I sort of had my quick realization of like, don't do the Noah's Ark syndrome thing again. And so I kind of built a few different pairs and slowly added some things and learned and got rid of some like lower quality animals that I'd gotten early that maybe I wouldn't have picked up if I'd have known what I know now. And yeah, over the years it was like a clutch here. And 1 year maybe I wouldn't have a clutch of carpets and I'd have a litter of rainbow boas, and then the next year I'd have 2 clutches of carpets, and then the next year maybe like 2 or 3, and it was kind of like that for the first 4 years. And then I had, so 3 years ago I had like 4 clutches. 2 years ago I had 5, but half of it didn't go, and then last year I had 9. So Whoa. It was kind of like, if you're graphing it, it was a pretty steady mellow and then just shot up. And if I really wanted to this year, like if say we weren't in a financial recession and people had money and they were buying snakes like it was going out of style, I could potentially pair as many as 20 female carpets this year, but I'm going to go for maybe half that.
Right.
So
and that's mainly because you're kind of being real with yourself as far as, because obviously, you know, okay, even if you want to like that, I mean, that potentially could be a lot of snakes. Like that's could be a wall full of holdbacks or something that you have to right. And then at one point you got to find homes for them. But right now it's kind of a finicky time to do that, right?
Yeah, it's the most undecisive time right this very instance, because we're also in the time of year where it's like the middle of winter, the start of breeding season. People are kind of trepidatious given the current economic standing. And then it's like you can't, some people are kind of done shipping to most places. So it's like you got a stock of animals from last season that are still here. You can assume some are going to go out once the weather gets better, but how much are you really willing to bank on that? And then how much space does that leave you? And then how realistic is it that next year will be any better? So you definitely have to take a lot of that into consideration. And I think when it comes to live animals, you owe it to them to not put them in the position to be slighted. So
yeah,
you know, maybe it's best to push a project a year back or something like that. So what I'm prioritizing this year are like new things that I haven't done, or like a couple projects that I really want to take to the next level because I can this year. But then there's some other stuff that like I could certainly breed, but you know, I still have some from last year, or like, you know, I don't want to have 80 of something. Like I could pair a bunch of popwins and have an assload of popwin carpets, but you know, how much space do I have? How much time do I have? How much do I want to spend?
Yeah, right, Riley, knock off all the species you could breed right now in your collection. Can you just knock those off the top of your head right now?
Corn snakes, Crebos, Brettles, pythons, Darwins, Popwins, coastals, jungles. That might be it, because I did slim down on a lot of species, man. Right. I used to have like Dumerose boas, Amazon tree boas, rainbow boas, tons of stuff. I've got.
Why'd you let go of those? I'm curious. I like those a lot. I'm just curious. Why'd you let go of the Amazons and the rainbows?
Amazons were space.
Right.
I got them in, and I was expecting to be in a bigger place by, you know, a certain time, and that just didn't work out. And then yeah, man, I had meticulously put together a really nice pair of damn near patternless yellow neonates, and after about 2 years, the space crunch became real, and I ended up selling them as a group to Jeremy Turgeon. So shout out to him. He's got them, so they're in good hands.
Yeah, that guy's killing it right now in the fucking Amazon Treebo game.
Yeah, him and Randy Pegis. Big shout out, guys.
Shout out to Randy.
So yeah, that was more of a space thing. I love Amazon tree boas. Absolutely love them. I have a couple Corrales books that they're a wonderful species. They're like the boa equivalent of carpets. Of course, I'm naturally drawn to them, but it was a space thing. Same with the Dumerals. But the nice thing about the Dumerals boas is we have some at work. We're going to inherit a breeding pair from a family, and we've got some of the offspring. So I kind of get to scratch that itch at work. But yeah, if I had more space, I wouldn't have curbed myself so much. But ultimately what it came down to was like, oh, this carpet needs to upgrade, or this project just became available and I can't miss out, or whatever it is. I've got to get this stuff in, or got to get these next generation animal, or whatever it is. And when you got to make a tough call, you got to make a tough call. And that's what I was saying earlier about being real with myself about like what my true passion is. It's carpet pythons. When it really comes down to it, if something's got to leave between this and a carpet, the carpet's staying.
Right.
So
do you think people should be scared about breeding right now? Like, meaning like almost convinced not to do it? Because I mean, I don't know. Like, I feel like if you have something that you're trying to build, like I shouldn't think, I mean, I don't know. Like, okay, let's be honest. If you breed, you want to make money. I mean, somehow, at least at some point.
At least to pay for itself. Yeah. Sell right. That you don't want to keep to pay the food bill. But
the thing is, I feel like it doesn't need to always be the same year you make it. You know what I mean? Like you should always have like a foundation first and foremost and stuff to build off of. And I feel like some of the most successful people who breed anything are successful because they don't stress about selling anything. Like they have something where they're happy keeping it regardless if they sell it or not. And they don't push the envelope. You know what I mean? But what do you think about that?
No, I think it's a valid consideration. The climate, it can't be ignored as far as financial end. So if your goals are financial, that needs to be considered. But yeah, like I don't do this for a living yet. I don't know if that'll ever be in my future, and if it is, I'll take it as it comes. But right now, it's still an expensive hobby that pays for itself and then some. But yeah, I have the luxury of being able to just not breed something this year. Whereas other folks who do it for a living, like Nick, he's got to produce a certain amount every year to pay bills. So I think it really comes down to like the individual species and what sort of market you're talking about, and how many other folks there are competing for, whatever amount of sales there are available or potentially available, and just, gauge it and do your best guess. Like, the way I'm looking at it is last year was my biggest production year yet, and I've still got some left over. I'll probably move some once the weather gets better, but I should assume that next year will be not any better, if even the same. For me personally, I feel like that's like last year. If I produce that much, that's the most I should aim for. And honestly, probably shouldn't aim for that much, just to be on the safe side, because you really don't know. Things do come in waves and it'll come back around. And like carpet pythons, there's not a ton of people breeding them, so the competition isn't necessarily there, but competition isn't also a bad thing, so
yeah,
I think it really just comes down to what species you're talking about. If there's a lot of people producing them, then pump the brakes. If there's not, then you're probably safe producing a decent amount if you'd like.
Yeah, I mean, I think we are here in a day and age where there's so many different outlets to use to kind of show people your work. Like, you hustle YouTube and you advertise your shit. You have Instagram, but MORPH Market, man, let's talk about MORPH Market and what happened with MORPH Market, how you feel like not being on MORPH Market. Is it going to really have an effect you feel like long-term with you, all that stuff? Let's get that. And let's just hear what happened from you though. Like what happened with you and Darian, the whole MORPH Market thing?
Yeah, so it started with I got a message on an ad for a baby, and the guy just was like, "Hey, would you take $300?" And it was a $400 snake, and I told myself, instead of getting into a verbal thing and saying something stupid that I regret, just block them or whatever, just don't get into it. And so I did.
So you never responded, you just blocked them. Like, was this
yeah, which
which is, I mean, that's
I don't know.
That's a nice way. that's for us, for you and I, how we are. That's a nice way of going about just saying, I'm not going to sell you a snake.
That was my thinking at the time. Some days, depending on how I'm feeling, depending on how I'm feeling, if you ask me that question, I might not feel so confident that that was the best decision. But regardless, that's what happened. And then, and I think I took like I don't remember if I screenshotted it or if I just wrote something and put something in my Instagram story that was like, don't lowball, don't be this guy or something like that. Something pretty like snarky and not necessarily productive. And let's see what happened next. I think next thing that happened was another friend of mine sent me a screenshot of Darian's Facebook page with a screenshot of my story and then the conversation and the sales ad from the gentleman, because I think that gentleman reached out to Darian and sent him that, rightfully so. Obviously, I'm in the wrong in this regard. And so Darian compiled it into a collage and posted it on his personal Facebook page. And so
same way did Bill Stiegel, same shit, right? Like
so some of my friends saw it and sent it to me, and they're like, "What's going on with this?" And so I commented on it, and I was like, I don't remember. I wrote some long thing. I was like, it's really easy to talk shit online when you don't realize I'm actually watching, something along those lines. And I've never met him. I've never talked to him before. And so my reaction was like, you're talking shit. I'm right here. Why not just message me? And then also, how are you discrediting me bashing this potential customer when you're screenshotting these things and bashing a current customer, which is, me and a paid MORPH Market subscriber? I was like, that's pretty much pot calling the kettle black, like Webster's dictionary definition of hypocritical. And he didn't like that. So he deleted the post and then made a very vague tongue-in-cheek something about like violating terms and policies of MORPH Market's procedures will get you banned. And I was like, that's funny, because that's exactly what you just did. I commented that, and then he blocked me. And then I got suspended for 30 days and everything was deactivated. And then I don't think he liked that I was still making a lot of sales through MORPH Market ad after that, because I still had open conversations with people.
Yeah.
And so I was still able to like mark sold, delete, mark sold, all this stuff. And I was being an absolute asshole. I was like, it's funny when you ban me, but I'm still making money off your fucking platform and this and that. And I was absolutely.
So you could have just let it be and just made your sales, but you're like, fuck this guy. You went back in. You wanted to rub wound on the salt a little bit.
Absolutely.
Rub salt on the wound. I mean,
absolutely. Yeah. When I'm in the heat of the moment, man, I'm
running
into battle headstrong with my helmet.
Not a good thing, dude. But I know how that's how we are. It's just like like almost the thing we can't.
Yeah.
But anyways, continue. Yeah, please.
And then obviously, like you just said, like thinking about it right now, cooler heads prevail. I really wish I could go back and not have done any of that. But I think that's kind of where the I think that's where most of that between him and I went. I think.
Right. Because it was kind of dry after that. Like he cut you shut your thing down. And right.
Yeah.
Blocked you too. Like you couldn't even communicate with them no more. Right. Weren't you trying to like?
I mean, I probably could have if I really wanted to, but like at that point, I'd made my point as far as I was considered. And then, that's when sort of enough time had elapsed and the other version of me on my shoulders, like, hey man, this is kind of a dick thing to do. Like, this is drama. You really don't want to be involved in drama. Drama sucks. It makes you feel bad, right? And I was like, damn, you're right. So that's when I started thinking about it. And so I reached out to the guy who initially inquired about the sales ad. Yeah. And I apologized to him. And I was like, dude, I'm so sorry. Like, this is not me, And so we talked and we squashed and we're all good. And so like, I repaired that, which I was really grateful for. He did not have to do that. But he's a really nice guy. But yeah, man, it's more of the like learning as I go when I lose my composure, sort of things like that, where I'm like, damn it, the next day I'm like, shit.
Well, it's kind of like, okay, a few years ago when, when we first knew each other, especially me, man, I lost my composure a lot in the beginning and I could get away with it because who the fuck are we? You know what I'm saying? But as we progress and as we earn people's respect and we earn we start mentoring people, then all the shit we do matters now. You know what I'm saying?
It's much more public too.
It's not only public, but it just affects the people who fuck with us. And I never, like, after I went through my shit with earlier this year of trying to get canceled for being a bully, but I realized how much I hurt my own people because they were getting fucking like shitted on for supporting me. And so I know there's been times where, because how you feel, and you know, you say, I'm just gonna go on this fucking rant, like, you know, it just affects a lot more than just us now, you know. But you're realizing that because now you're starting to like, holy shit, you know. If you would have never told me, Riley, like, and like, you know, fucking Darian, like if you were to play victim right now somehow and never said that you hit that dude up apologizing, this would have never really shown that you are looking at things like, I don't want to be like this, and I don't want to fucking like continue this path, because like you said, someday if this was a all in fucking 24/7 job for you and you did nothing else, why would you want to fuck up a potential customer like that? Like, like, you don't know how much money he really has, and who knows? Well, it's $100. I get it, but man, fuck, you can get a lifetime customer for $300, dude. You know what I mean?
Well, and then the other side of that too is like, I put myself in his shoes, and I'm like, man, that would be shitty to like field that sort of a response in one way or another. And really early on, Kyle Harper, I don't know if he's still watching. If he
I have that. Trust me, I have it on the simmer right there.
Cool.
I was going to drop that in at a perfect time. But go ahead.
Yeah, I'll bring it up. I'll bring it up. So it's in the same vein. Another one of my, we'll say, a moment of piss poor judgment. Right. And before I get into it, I didn't think I had ever talked to him or knew him before. And I looked back in previous messages, and it looked like he had hit me up asking me about Exanic Tiger.
Wait, do you know this guy? Do you actually know this guy?
Not personally, just through.
Okay. So he's a real person, though. That's cool. Because I don't.
Yeah.
Okay,
no, just a real person.
Right on. Shots out.
So I didn't know who he was. And when I was sick with COVID, I was home bored, and I was on my phone, and I saw his hypocoastals up for sale. Mm-hmm. And I had got some bogus story through some weird channels, I think, unless it was just like COVID fog and I'm making it all up, that those ones came through like a suspicious like breeding that got mixed up from the same breeder, but like information was crossed, some details that like I are so like not well stored in my brain that I can't even like verbalize them well anymore. And then I made a really rude, again, Instagram story thing about like, oh, be careful buying, you know, random hypocoastals labeled as pure from people you don't know, which is like, first of all, me caring about what other people are breeding is stupid. Second of all, it's none of my business. Thirdly, I really didn't know what I was talking about. I thought I did, but I didn't. And I even was like, hey, Nick, is this, you know, bogus? And he was like, yeah. And I was like, I just ran with it. And it was obviously really stupid looking back at it. And again, not having the presence of mind to think about like what my, like, I guess not necessarily words, but like what I'm putting out on the social media and stuff with how many people are paying attention, how much it can influence somebody's decision making or something. Right. Yeah. And so basically I, without knowing him, shit on his snakes without knowing what I was saying. And that sucked, man. Like that did not go well, obviously. Rightfully so. I deserved everything. You know, I still haven't even gone to the Facebook group where he made a post about me, but I've heard enough about it, and that's fine. I deserve it. But I did want to try and apologize to him, and I reached out to him to try and apologize to him. And I don't know if I got my details mixed up and he still thinks I'm lying, or anyway, he still thinks I'm lying. He still thinks I'm maliciously out to get him. I don't know if I've like mixed up what I've said and made some crazy story and his, I don't know. I really don't know. Yeah. But I legitimately tried to reach out to a mutual friend of ours, Jason Balin, was like, hey, can you tell him I'm trying to apologize to him? Because I went on MORPH Market during that suspension and I saw one of his ads and I commented and I was like, hey man, this is a really beautiful snake. You know, I apologized. I don't want to get your hopes up. This isn't like a for sale inquiry, but I just wanted to try and reach out to you the only way I know how to get a hold of you and apologize. So for whatever reason, he still thinks I'm lying about that because it didn't show up in his inbox and it's not showing up in mine. And I don't know if that's because I was suspended for that. I don't know what the message parameters were, but other messages were working. Anyway, 100% of it was my fault. 100% of it could have been avoided if I'd just, taken my Dayquil and passed the fuck out with COVID and shut up.
Yeah. I mean, dude, most of the times it's us not shutting up, and that's when things go wrong. But
for me, my experience, yeah.
I mean, I will say, okay, even though I feel like it was kind of ridiculous, me being tried to canceled for being a bully, like the end of this time last year, man, I didn't give a fuck. Like, I knew there were certain people trying to like antagonize me and put me in thumbnails, and I let them fucking have it. But that's exactly what they wanted. They wanted that fucking that moment, but also it almost seemed like I was using my platform to just shit on people, because people who did people who never really heard my podcast were getting sent my podcast of me just talking shit. And so
it's the same thing.
Yeah. And it's like, whoa, hold on. That's not what my podcast is all about. Like, I will fucking shit on someone if I need to, if it's necessary. But like, there was a moment this time last year where that's like, it was fucking, it almost seemed like I was out to get people because I didn't give a fuck. I was over it. I was over, but
sure.
It just made what I was doing kind of look bad because, I did build this platform all about the animals. And now I'm really fucking making fun of bottom feeders and people who aren't even relevant. You know what I'm saying? And giving them their fucking time of day where they're like, oh, MJ talked about me. And they're so like, I made their fucking year doing that. You know what I'm saying? But it was not worth it. So I didn't know if this Kyle Harper was even talking to me. Like, I had no clue who he was even talking to. That's why I was like, is this guy even real? And so, but either way, like, I feel like less is more. What this guy's saying, I don't think, because you and I, man, we have so much relevancy towards the animals. So we really don't need to talk shit about nobody, because we got too much, we have way too much going on personally with our own shit to be kind of concerned about. You know what I mean?
100%.
So, but also, like, I learned big time, and I'm still learning. Like, trust me, there's times where I'm like, MJ, pull it back a little bit. Like, I never try to throw specific names out there anymore, because it's mainly a group of people. Like, bottom feeders is a community. People who are like Samson neglectors. I know I wasn't supposed to say names, but I'm just saying those are like
agreed upon one that we'll all accept can be
right.
said.
Yeah, right. So that's why it's kind of like it's a give or take. Where, man, less is more. I don't think this hobby needs any bashing right now, because we're not the best looking hobby right now. Like, we have a lot of stuff to clean up, man.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Yeah, and I don't know, like, one thing to kind of keep Darian in the conversation, like, he seems to be really after exposing stuff that isn't right at shows. And I feel like, well, that's kind of a good thing, don't you think? But then again, you have people writing on the whole, like, well, that's going to make us look even worse. And what's your take on that? Like, and also, what was your take on the whole Samson thing and people just making content off it? Like, I was one of them, obviously, but I want to hear your take on it, bad vendors and people like the biggest piece of shits in the world, like Samson. You know what I mean? Like, let's talk about that. Okay,
so we've got two things. Okay, so the first one, because I feel like I can get through this one quicker. Darian's, is it safe to say it's a goal or an objective of his to get rid of bad vendors? Is that what I'm getting at?
Say that again.
He's trying to get rid of bad vendors at shows and stuff, or just in general.
Well, there was a Nile crocodile, something like that he was showing off that, like, people were like, they were pissed off about. They were like kind of mad for him showing that off. You know what I mean?
So, one thing I will say, when showing things off, you got to take everything with a grain of salt. A picture can be taken out of context, or a video clip can be taken out of context really easily, and just give everyone the benefit of the doubt. I think weeding out bad vendors is a healthy practice and should always kind of be done to a degree where it's not like you're shouting from the mountaintops, getting the attention of people outside of the industry, because that becomes sort of like airing your dirty laundry out where it's not needed. But a healthy approach to getting rid of that, I think, isn't a bad thing. Now, is it one person's responsibility? No. Is it a community responsibility? Yes. What does that mean? I don't know. I don't know what that shapes up to be. The initiative and the intent behind it, I think, has good heart, and it comes from a good place. The rest of it, I think, it I don't know. I'm not. I wouldn't be the expert to be tapped for trying to do it. So I don't know if I have that answer, but
I just feel like there's already fools who are down to do that. I don't think the owner of Morph Market should be doing it.
Yeah, I feel like in every circle of species, let's just say like every species has its circle. There's enough people that sort of self-police on their own. Like the Morelia hobby has always been a big proponent of self-policing. Its own issues. And so I think that just kind of happens naturally. That's a human nature thing. And so I think that's probably where it should stay, although I don't see anything wrong with it being like an organized effort in some fashion, or there being maybe a standard. But
yeah,
I think sometimes we get a little lost in whether or not that's any of our business, or if we're doing more harm than good, and every situation is different. So that's where I stand on that. As far as the Samson thing, I think it was good to have the entire community rallied behind not supporting that level of neglect and animal abuse in any way, shape, or form. I think people from all niches and sectors of the hobby came together and vocalized their opinions in a really big way. And I thought that was impressive. But at the same time, here we are today. He's still posting about breeding snakes. He's still got retics. He's still doing things. He moved to a different facility, dodged whatever. I don't know the details, and I don't want to know. But
yeah,
it would have been nicer to see, like, let's say the volume on this was at an 11. We turned it up. We cranked it. I don't know if the rest of the world outside of the reptile hobby heard about it or not. I didn't hear anybody outside coming to me like, whoa, did you see this? Like, yeah, of course I did. I'm in the reptile world. I saw it. I didn't get any of that, but that doesn't mean it wasn't happening. But I would have much rather loved to see folks that have the power in the retic community to do something about it. And I don't know what that means either. Those could just be.
Well, it's like, how do you, okay, my thing was, like, why even give a fuck when the most powerful people who could really possibly do something, I guess, or do something closer, don't even give a fuck. So it's like, and mind you too, like there's just so many different Samsons out there. Like Samson got caught. Like that's what I say. Like Samson is an idiot and he got caught. But there's so many people out there who are just the most terrible fucking keepers by any animals, and they just have them, and there's not much we can do about it. Like, but my thing is, like, do we continue to expose it? Like do YouTubers or reptile content pages and whatnot continue to make fucking like little mini documentaries out of it and almost doing like Netflix's jobs? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think everyone's concern with that is, will it have greater ripple effects and cause legislation that restricts the rest of us and penalizes those of us that aren't doing that? I think that's everybody's greatest concern, is if we say too much, is it going to blow back in everyone's face? I think to say nothing would be wrong. To do nothing would be wrong on the opposite end of the extreme, right? So I think somewhere in there, there's a balance. I don't know what it is or where it is, but for me to say nothing is wrong. But at the same time, I didn't make any videos about it because I don't feel like I had any dog in the fight other than being part of this reptile world and taking that personally in that regard. I'm not a retic keeper. I don't know all the information and all the ins and outs. What I know is what I've seen that's been shared publicly. So for me, I didn't feel like it was something for me to speak out on, but I was really, really, I guess, encouraged to see so many people speaking up on it over a length of time where it wasn't just a little fluke thing, even though it, you look back on it and not much has changed, but maybe I'm wrong. Maybe some stuff has changed, or maybe it's in the works in the background and it'll have.
Hey, I mean, dude, we'll never see him at a Reptile Super Show, so I'm cool with that.
Well, so then I'm wrong. Things have changed. It's been public enough where he's.
Oh yeah, Rami booted that fool. He's fucking shit.
Yeah,
he's on that.
I was there at the Pomona show
when he was there. I remember he was there.
And
I couldn't believe that. I was like, dude, this fool's here, and then he was on Cusco's fucking.
Yeah, so much love to Brian. I hope he's feeling better. He came up to me that weekend and was like, so there's a lot of controversy about Samson and him being here. Like, he already had like wildlife officials called on him at the show for having dogs in a crate in the back and all this stuff. And it was really controversial. But Brian, you know, he's very neutral. He's, when it comes to like his reporter face that he puts on, he's really good at being neutral and just kind of.
He's Hawaiian, bro. He's Hawaiian.
He's all.
He loves everybody. He loves the earth. He loves everybody.
Yeah. So I told him, I was like, look, I respect giving everyone a voice. Everybody's opinion deserves to be said or heard or whatever. But I also told him, I was like, just know that, you know, this is going to piss a lot of people off now and later. And who knows what's going to happen. Obviously, everybody loves you and won't think you're of any ill intent, but you know, just think about it. And I didn't give him an answer one way or the other, because like, I understand that like everybody's voice is worth being heard a little bit, even if, you know, it's manipulative and full of lies and shady. Like I saw it, and it was, I've never seen a guest lead the interviewer with questions. Like he would straight up be like, ask me this. Ask me this.
It was like weird, dude. I was like, wait a minute, this is like his thing. Like it's like
the most arrogant chest.
Yeah, bro. And I was like, dude, and even
bullshit fest I'd ever seen.
His answers weren't even answering the question, and he would dance around it and like, bro, what the fuck? And Brian was just like, all right, just like he just let him.
Brian was shocked.
Yeah, you could.
He was deer in headlights during that interview. I'd never seen him so at a loss of what to do. He was like, okay. Just roll with it, because like,
remember, dude, that guy's face was printed all over the fucking show by El Segundo. His wife fucking blasted that shit everywhere, and so it's like go ahead. I'm sorry.
It's a big deal. I remember that very well. That was a big deal.
Yeah, and it was crazy how that aged, that episode. You know what I'm saying? Because now, I mean, I remember going back, seeing the amount of views it had, and it gained like it almost doubled in views because of the Samson thing. People went back and started watching that, you know, and that right there, and man, you want to talk about evidence on how this fucking person is, his mentality. It says it all, even with the shit that he got caught with, you know. So yeah, man, I don't know.
If you ever want to see a sociopathic narcissist create his own interview through somebody else, go watch that. And Brian got a lot of unnecessary flack for that, which I expected was going to happen, and I'm sure he expected it too. And if there's anybody who can handle it, it's him. But anybody who's like pissed off at Brian about that shouldn't be, because
no, hell no. I mean,
he only just gave him a voice for simply being an open, neutral human being. Like, look, here's one side, here's the other. There's always two sides to a coin. Even if one side is full of shit and a malicious animal abuser, let's hear it.
Yeah, somebody has to hear him. You know what I'm saying? So, but the thing is, it's like I can't even stand to hear him. Like I can't finish that podcast now at all. Like I
didn't even go back and watch it because I lived it. I lived it. I was right there. And the one thing that stands out to me is his greasy, slicked back hair and a fucking ponytail and just his
dude. Nasty, bro. I get like fucking. I feel like I have spiders crawling on me. I feel like I have fucking used. I feel like I have used like fucking meat on me or something. Brian. Now, man. I mean, I don't know, but there's so much more stuff to be proud of, I guess. You know, as far as you know, on the other end of the spectrum, what we're talking about here, we have people who are just really about the fucking epicness of keeping sick reptiles. Like, rest in peace, Forrest. Let's just talk about Forrest Fanning real quick. Rest in peace, Forrest Fanning. What a guy, bro. Remember that guy, man? Let's talk about him real quick. Talk about his fucking Instagram page, Zoo Dreams, which was a dream. I remember going to that guy's page, just scrolling and just thinking, he owns all this. Like, this is fucking nuts. And that's when my taste for the finer things in life all started. And I'm not sure how remind me how you and Forrest even first became about and whatnot.
Cusco.
Wow, dude.
Cusco was the catalyst. So I'd been filming for him at shows for a while, and Forrest came out to, I think it was a Pomona show, it must have been, and he told me, hey, Forrest is going to be there. I'll introduce you to him. We're going to do one of his talks. And I had seen him on Brian's channel from when he went to Indonesia with Barczek. And then when a few other times on his channel. So I knew of Forrest, and I knew he was an encyclopedia for reptiles. I knew he was brilliant. And I knew he knew a lot of other brilliant people. So to get to be around him was probably going to be a pretty impressive treat. And so I was scheduled to film for Brian that weekend. And so I filmed, I don't remember the year, the date, but if you were to go back through Brian's Triple B TV video archives, I visibly remember Forrest wearing a bright yellow shirt that day. And the reason why I remember it is because I was like, this dude's like Big Bird over here.
Yeah.
This big yellow shirt, but he knew everything that was thrown at him. He was like, you could tell his brain was going faster than his mouth, and his mouth was trying to keep up, and he was doing a really good job. And he's just, you could tell like he lived and breathed for his obsession with these animals. Yeah. And he wasn't just one of those people that talked about it and read all the books. He did it. Yeah. He didn't just talk about it. He did it. And even if it was something that he wasn't like, it wasn't in his wheelhouse to keep at home, but he had somebody like right next to him that like would kill for that animal, or it was a rare opportunity. If they didn't buy it, he would buy it and put it in their hands or their collection, so they would do right by it and just have like an owner emeritus thing with like that Reach Dreams line of retics with Garrett, and he did that with he's done that with a bunch of people. But like you just know somebody when you first meet somebody and they have that kind of energy and they're like knowledgeable, they're wiser beyond their years, and then they're almost like philanthropical in that way. Like Forrest, if anybody was introduced to Forrest, he would take the time to introduce himself, and literally whatever your introduction was, that he keeps this and this, he would have something, and it would just be like off to the races in an amazing conversation about something that you probably never heard of, that was super valuable regardless of whatever species it was. And if you're lucky, it would go on for hours. One of those people that could talk for hours. And so I remember that interview and filming it, and because they just stood there, all I really had to do was just make sure all the mics were still running, the cameras were still on and still in focus, and everything like that looked good. And so I was able to really digest that conversation and just sit. And the thing that I take away from it, other than Forrest in his big yellow shirt and just this glowing presence, dude, like I have this image burned in my brain, and he just has this energy coming out. And it just, I remember it being like one of those amazing conversations where you like don't want it to end.
Yeah. Fuck yeah.
But you couldn't repeat it if you tried, sort of a thing.
Right.
And so the show wraps up. Go to the auction, everybody's had dinner and whatnot, and then I remember that night we stayed up in the lounge with a bunch of people, and we're just
was that when Cusco was wrestling Andy Gabbs?
No, that was a little bit later. I missed that show.
Okay,
it was. I think it might have been the next show. Actually, no, I'm wrong.
That was that night, right?
You're correct. You are correct. That was that show.
Dude, was. And check this out. Look what I found, man. While you're talking, I was trying to dig through it, and I fucking found it. Look, is this what you're talking about? Was this the episode?
I remember that one.
Was it a different episode or same episode that we were talking about?
The one that I filmed was at Pomona, but I remember this episode because this was one of the first times I saw Forrest in anything, and it was on Cusco. Yeah, this was the first one where I was like, dude, this guy knows everything about everything. I haven't even heard of half of these species, and he can recite a book on it.
Dude, Cusco's such a legend, bro. Like, if you really kind of just go back and look at the catalog of Triple B TV, he has had so many fucking epic people on his channel. And I know I go by the coolest reptile podcast in the world, but dude, this guy right here to me is the GOAT. Like, he set the fucking foundation for me. I'm not gonna lie. And he still has brought people on I could probably never bring on it, because not only that, they're not even here no more. You know what I'm saying? So it's like that right there, Brian. If you're listening to this, you are the man, bro. I've always said this. I remember
when Brian only had Noah. Eli wasn't born yet.
Yep.
And he had one rack of snakes in his closet that also had all the clothes that he and his wife shared. Right. And Hillary was just a saint from day one about everything and still is to this day. Right. And then I remember Eli being born and coming into the picture. And then I remember Brian getting his first stack of those big retic cages, and we put them together and they like were this far from the ceiling. And it was like this sketchy ordeal to get them up the stairs. And yeah, man, like that. Yeah, I remember when I met him at Pomona in a hotel lobby, or the elevator lobby, something like that. Like, fuck, I don't even know how long ago. And it's just, yeah. And then dude, he's literally been the catalyst for so many of my long-standing friendships in the reptile world. Now that I think about it, like people that I talked to very closely, like been in their weddings, been in my wedding type shit.
Yeah.
So,
and those type of people are important because they're good people who only keep good people together. You know what I'm saying? And like I said, he's been in multiple different situations with him supporting me and then other people who support him not supporting me. And Cusco is always, you know, he knows how to think for himself, you know, and what sucks, Riley, and I know you could definitely agree to this, that we are in a fucking day and age where people can't think for themselves. They can't make their own, they can't make their own judgment, their own decision. They can only go off what they hear. Now you and I, man, fuck. Man, I feel it was kind of like a 180 thing, because I'll never forget the first time you told her, I remember it was about an import, all right, and you know the importer, we won't mention his name, but it was an importer. He had a shit history, right, and he was our friend, and Forrest wanted to mention something on a podcast about it, and you're like, no, like you're like that's not. You're like fuck that, or maybe he did. I can't remember. I can't remember what it was.
I think it was coming on. I think you guys were trying to bring him on or something
like that. And you were just like pissed. And so I was like, well, you know, I almost was like, you know, I'm not gonna lie, I was like into the drama. I was like, yeah. Fuck, let's do it. And you're like, well, no, I'm trying to keep that. Like I told you that in secret because I don't want drama, right? And all I remember was like, well, if Riley's upset, Riley's upset. I'm not gonna lie, I didn't really give a fuck, but Forrest cared a lot. Forrest was like, MJ, we like it was messed up, and I don't want, and this was the first time, and I wanted to just tell you something, okay? I'm a hard-headed individual, as a lot of you guys probably already know. But it's hard for me to fucking listen. Like I have to really fucking like you for me to listen to you, okay? Forrest Fanning was one of the very first people where, like, if he was talking and telling me something, I soaked up all the game he gave me, and I kept my mouth shut. Like, he was like one of the first people, and when he told me how important you were to him, I was like, well, I stopped myself and my energy with being like, well, if Riley wants to act like that, who gives a fuck? To where like, wait, hold on. Then I need, if Forrest says we got to be cool with Riley, then that is important to me too. So I'll never forget, I made amends with you. And I remember I was kind of being the hothead, just go fuck yourself in a sense. But I was like, no, and hold on. Like, I just cared about that. And that I always cared about that. Right. And then we lost Forrest. Okay. We lost Forrest. I was like, Forrest left a fire within me, man. Like when he left me, the only reason why I ever did this podcast is because of this podcast right here, Unfiltered Reptile Podcast. He gave me the courage. And then I just felt like it was in my destiny to just go fucking all in. And then when I started going on all in and things started happening, I noticed not only with you, but just other people, I was losing kind of like support in a way. But with you, I don't know. Like, I know there's been times where I've come at you sideways, but we like kind of forgave each other and whatnot. But I don't know where things really went wrong with you and I, because I felt like when I was like, damn, Riley, my own homie, doesn't fuck with me no more. That's when I became a little bit of like, I got all hardened and I became cold, and I became quick of cutting people off after that. But I'm not sure what it was. And I know you and I've come a long ways, and we talk to each other, man. So I'm just trying to see what it was out there that I did to kind of almost do a 2-year beef, like a whole 2-year beef of us not fucking with each other, and really like you not fucking with me at all. And like, and I know there was other people out there who didn't fuck with me either, and they were kind of like egging you on, but I'm just curious on how all that shit went down.
It wasn't anything you did, dude. It was all me. That's why you're so confused, because you didn't do anything. That I went through a really weird, like 2-year, 3-year phase, 2 different times that window. And then more recently, I had another window like a couple years ago where I was just not happy with where I was at personally. And it just manifested in everything else. I was unsure about where I was at with work and whether it was going to work out long term, and things weren't going well. And like, you know, just like all these stupid things that I didn't have a handle on my own understanding of myself to be able to see that that's what was, you know, causing me to feel so upset to take this out on. And like, yeah, like you said, a couple things were just misinterpretations, and like we ended up squashing them, but it sort of didn't resolve it. It's because I was still, I don't know, I was just still in my angry zone. You know, I've gone through waves of that, and I recognize that nowadays. And
do you remember when Barcheck, and mind you, this was I didn't want to do this, but I did because Barcheck offered it. But remember when I was trying to do the news for Barcheck, like he had me do like be a part of that YouTube channel where I was gonna come out with like a weekly news. Do you remember that? It was like 2 years ago. Do you remember?
Now that you mention it, I do.
Yeah. And then you said something like, "We're like, I'm not." You're like, "Well, you're like, I'm never watching this fucking channel ever again." And
oh yeah.
And I was like, at first I was like, "Oh great, like here we go, all my haters are gonna come." But then Barcheck was like, "Okay," and like. And I was like,
that's all he wrote was
he just put like okay question mark. And I was like, holy shit. But that right there, that was when you first like let me know publicly, fuck MJ, I'm not cool with this guy. And dude, I went fighter mode, man. I was like, fucking let's like, you know, like and
should have.
Yeah, but I should, but honestly, that I mean, because how much a piece of work I was then, like I definitely shouldn't have. Like, I should have just been like, hey, it's unfortunate that's how he feels. But like I said, when it's that close to home, Riley, and like I said, you and I, Forrest, we had something, you know what I'm saying? So when it's almost like as if Steven were to do that to me. So
sure.
That's why, like, I take it, like I wear my heart on my sleeve, especially with my closest friends. And when my closest friends do something like that, I don't know how to react, but to just go fucking ape shit, you know? And, but like I said, it was more like, well, what did I do to this fucking guy? Like, what, like, because I know there's been times where I did, but I always apologized and said, Riley, I should never fucking talk to you like that. And let's continue. But then, you know, and Riley, I don't want you to get offended. Okay. But I really was convinced, only because the things I was seeing that you were this Bob Smith. I was writing these fake emails to Desiree saying that you better drop MJ or I'm going to stop giving you business. He's the worst person of the hobby. And that fucked with me too, man. And that's, I made a whole movement out of that for 2 years. Fuck Bob Smith. And then I'm thinking, you know,
it's pretty clever. I'm not going to lie.
Because it was my fuel. It was my fire.
It was catchy.
Yeah. And it's also because it was a fake. Here we are, a fake person writing someone who just lost their husband. She's like she's holding on, and I'm trying to keep her a part of this podcast. And now there's this person going in writing fake emails saying MJ's the worst person in the industry. You better drop him. He's no good. All sorts of stuff. And that's why I was like, fuck, you know what I mean? So all I know is like, dude, not enough people are able to be man enough to fucking just sit here and talk about faults. And the best thing, I don't know if it was Brandon Wheeler. All I know is like once I found out that you were like just like, hey MJ, like fuck this shit. I can't, like, honestly, my mind is so going crazy right now. I can't even remember what it was for us to start fucking with each other again. And I think it was about this time last year, something like that, right? Can you remind me like what it was? And I was so happy, like I couldn't believe like you're just like coming to me like just saying, dude, can you refresh my memory, because I'm racing right now. I'm sorry.
So I don't remember like if it was like I saw something of yours on social media and it was like right at a time when I was like maybe being more open-minded or something like that. And Brandon and I were talking, and I think it was because I knew you and Brandon were tight, and so I was able to ask him questions about like, excuse me.
You're good.
Oh, what's this? Like I felt like I could go to him and be like, what the fuck, sort of thing. And then Brandon is always very
he's Swedish, bro. He's neutral. He tries to be neutral, bro.
Yeah, very neutral, very level-headed, and another one of those people that like every time I talk to, I feel like I learn more from about how to be more composed in certain stressful situations or whatever it is. yeah, he just kind of like wasn't down to listen to my venting bullshit. And he was like, hey man, he's actually not so bad. Why don't you just try like, you know, something like that. Like one of those like, hey man, why don't you just bury the hatchet and like try being open-minded, something like that, you know? And I think that's what it was. And I remember exactly where I was when I called you or texted you, and then you're like, call me in a few minutes, I'm doing something. And I was leaving the Kaiser offices here. I was getting a prescription updated, and I was getting my anxiety meds all squared away, because that's another thing that I've been doing over the last few years is just realizing that I have extreme levels of anxiety that manifests itself in weird ways where I like get upset at things, and that's, you know,
you snap basically.
Yeah, it's a part of it. The other part of it is like I've inherited my dad's like
bro, like I'm a mini version of my dad, bro, because my dad, like, I love my pops, but fuck, dude, he's a pistol, you know, and I always knew like, fuck, I'm like my dad, you know, but I tell myself like, you don't want to be like this, dude, like you better start now. And I know we're, you know, shit, I'm 38, you're younger than me, right?
34.
Oh fuck, God, so you're 34, bro. So like this is stuff where they almost say like, you know, once you're at, I don't want to say it's this age where they say it's too old to change, but it's not. It's definitely not too old to change. You just got to recognize it, and you got to fucking obsess to not want to be like that no more, you know?
Yeah, you got to want it.
Yeah.
You got to want it. Yeah, the thing
it's not easy either, Riley. It's not easy when you're like this your whole life or majority of your life or whatever. It's not easy to change, bro. Like I'm sitting here. I've always been quick to just fucking take a person's head off, bro. And I don't, but now where we're going in life, it's not the move. We can't. It's not feasible. You know what I'm saying?
Well, and that's the other thing too, is like after Brandon talked to me and I started thinking about it, because like he got me at a point where I was like, I'm open-minded, I'm listening, I will explore myself, you know, I'm happy to explore myself and be real with myself. That was when I realized you and I are very, very similar. In terms of like, we have loving, passionate fathers, but we've inherited like a level of like intensity from them, and like sometimes we don't have the off switch, and I see so much of that in you, the same in me, right?
No, for reals.
And so well, and so that 2 years where I was like just randomly, like for no reason, like I'm literally kind of processing this and thinking it out loud right now, I guess. Let's see if this feels right saying it. I guess I was seeing somebody who was so similar to myself set on like a trajectory to do things that I wanted to do, but like was doing it the same way I was, but it wasn't me.
Right. Something
like that.
You wanted the momentum that I had, the shit that I was taking off with, is what
the momentum. And then I also think I was sitting there being egotistical, going, well, if it was me, I would have done it like this or something like this.
Right, your own way, right? But you're mad that it was my thing, not your thing, and that was maybe one of the many things, I guess, right?
Yeah, I would say that's probably the right way to like put that into words there. Yeah. So.
But you know, how do you feel now, though, man? I mean, like, I don't know, like, because like I said, like here's the thing with me, man. I feel like, first and foremost, if I don't respect you and you don't like me, I don't give a fuck. Like, like it doesn't matter to me, but to you, it always mattered. Like I would always, like, you know, I have people out there that I haven't talked to in a while, and I still hope there could be something where we could bridge things back together, because I feel like it's worth it. But again, if I don't respect you, or I don't care if you're not an effect ever in my life, I don't go do your thing. Like me, don't like me, I don't give a fuck. But when I found out that Brandon was able to kind of glue us a little bit closer together, and once we had that conversation over the phone, man, it's all we needed, dude. All we needed was just to talk to each other and think about how many relationships that could have just been worked out like the way we worked it out, of some of the biggest names in this hobby. Like, do you know how many people just are just, they can't, they're so fucking full of themselves that they can't find it in them to just be like, you know what, let me call that person and let me fucking figure this out. You know what I'm saying? Because Riley, let's be honest, us fucking with each other, that's only going to help growth. Like how's that going to do anything but help us grow what we're doing, because we're working together now. Now it's not, you know, there's no line drawn in the sand. You know what I'm saying? Because that type of shit out there, like it's unfortunate because it's always going to be out there, but people like you and I don't need any lines drawn in any sands. Like people like us have to work together, bro. Like we have to. You know what I'm saying? So
another Forrest story that ties perfectly with that is one of the times I was hanging out with him at a show. It might have been that same show. I was in one of those phases again where, like, if I saw something negative, I had to say something about it.
Right.
And over the years, I've kind of gone up and down with how I feel like I should or shouldn't be a fan of Brian Barczyk, because one, there's a lot of, depending on what circle you run in, weird shame and embarrassment for being that, because like, you're too mainstream, that's lame, which is stupid. Okay, it's stupid. And so, like, I remember meeting him a decade ago when he still came out to the West Coast, and he took the time to like pose for a photo while I fumbled over getting my damn camera to work or whatever, and super nice. And over the years, you know, seeing some of the things he did and thinking that like I need to be vocal on my social media as somebody who might care. You know, I think I remember one video, he had some like baby cobras on the ground and was like trying to get them to hood up, and they weren't hooding because they're captive born and bred and they didn't really give a shit. Right. And he was just trying to like get them to do that for the display in the video. And I think I commented something and Forrest saw it. And so when we were hanging out at the show, he's like, hey man, I think it's really shitty that you got to focus on the negative things and have this negative take on Brian, you know, when, you know, all this and that. And I was like, so at that point, in one, I wouldn't say I was like intimidated from criticism of Forrest, but like if he was going to criticize me, I was like, oh, I'm definitely wrong. If he thinks I'm wrong, I'm definitely wrong. This is bad, sort of thing. And so he kind of put me on game with that, but he put me on game in terms of a perspective.
Yeah.
And I'll never forget that. And ever since then, I was like, wow, he's totally right.
That's how he was with, like, not only telling you as a person how to act, but even with animals. Like, he just always tried to put you on game. That's all it always was. And that, and dude, you know, we all, Forrest wasn't perfect, but he had perfect information.
None of us are.
But he had perfect information. Like, he gave you good advice. Maybe the advice that he didn't even take sometimes, but he always had the good piece of advice that you want to listen to. You know what I'm saying? He
was somebody that, as soon as I figured out where his head was at and where his heart was at, was like, I want to be around this guy as much as possible. Yeah. It was one of those infectious moments where you're like, okay, Forrest Manning isn't just a person. He's somebody. He's like,
and I always want that. Here's the thing. I never want that guy's name to die out ever in my life, bro. And I don't fuck. Like I'm about to start Zoo Dreams merch again. We're bringing that name back, bro. That's all I care about right now.
You should. I mean, I would like to think that we'll be able to look 40 years back from now, and his name will be widely recognized as some of the most influential people in our lives in terms of reptile folks like you and I.
Yeah.
Even if people didn't get to meet him, folks that will come later, I feel like there's enough of his influence around in some of these circles that they'll still feel his presence and his influence on a lot of the projects and what he set in motion with, like, you know, all the alligator lizards and just everything they did with Abronia and the rodent game that they turned upside down. And,
I mean, that's probably the most legendary thing is what he was able to do with the rodents. You know, like he built something so legendary. Which, dude, I want to say shout out to Mark Bailey. You know, Mark Bailey mentored that guy, right?
That's dope.
Yeah, he's really. I mean, Forrest went to Mark on how to fucking figure all this shit out, and he did. He took Mark's information and turned it into Cold Blooded Cafe, man. And you know, I want to say, man, to do that in the industry, like back when he was doing it, pretty fucking crazy. And just a normal guy, just a normal dude. You know what I mean?
Oh man, just to think what he could have accomplished if he was still here is just.
How do you think he would feel if he was still here? Like how do you think Forrest would look at everything that's happening, what's happened? I mean, how do you think he would feel?
I think right now he would be Well, he was a great family man. So when Lars was born, that was like, I've never seen somebody care about.
Yeah, that changed everything for him, bro.
Yeah, as much as like he did with the Reptiles, his son,
right,
and his family. Fuck, dude. I think he would be very much involved in just trying to keep spreading positivity. I think he would be right by Barczyk's side with the legacy and helping him take some of the work off his plate. I think he would be doing Animal Con and turning that into
for sure
something monumentally. It'll get there on its own, but I think he would have accelerated it further. I think he would spur and inspire an entire generation during COVID to love these animals. And as soon as COVID restrictions were up, I think he would have inspired everybody to go travel and see all these things in the wild and really do some amazing work at home if that's the only influence you can, or at least just support folks doing it. I mean, it's just everything that came out of his mouth was so supportive and positive of like all the right things. It was like, I always knew what to say, you know, like
you smooth.
Right thing.
Yeah.
I don't know, man. I feel like I didn't know him long enough to
dude, me neither.
To feel as privileged as I do to have known him and to have him have spoken highly about me to people. I mean, it's just like, it's one of the most, like, it makes me want to fucking cry right now, you know, like.
Yeah, man. But like, it's like I said, he's so important because somebody like me, my whole life, who had issues just listening, like, man, if I took advice from like back in my sports days to even my music days, like if I would have had a Forrest to just connect with, and I had great advice, I just didn't listen. I don't know what it was about me. I just didn't want to fucking listen. But Forrest changed all of that. And we would have 3-4 hour conversations, not 4 hour, maybe 2-3 hour conversations over the phone. It would be him talking the whole time. And I'd never been in a position where I never wanted to speak. Like, I'm just like, dude, you need to shut up and just listen to this guy. And like I said, man, I value that man so much. Is his value to me is what kept us together, Riley. Because I know myself, if it wasn't for Forrest putting the respect that he did on your name back when he did, I would have never saw the true value of who you really are to this industry. But only Forrest, Cusco, man. Cusco, really good friend of yours as well. I mean, I've only known you with great people in this industry, bro. Now that I think about it, Brandon Wheeler, Cusco. So I think you are, no matter what, Riley, I feel like you can make a lot of mistakes, but people are still going to love you. And you already know that's the case because it's with me like that too, right? We're all here trying to grow, but you have good people around you, Riley. But be better for them. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Just like me. Like I love that I'm probably the dumbest in the room when it comes to like my mentors and people around me, and I'm good, but I also want to become better. I want to hopefully maybe become something influential for them someday. So never just like set yourself lower standards. Because, you know, at the end of the day, we have great friends. Like, we have amazing people around us, bro. So
yeah, you just totally, I've got like goals written on a piece of paper that I literally look at every day, and it's like, it's up there. It's just be better.
Yeah. I mean, because, you know, people think motivation is what you need. Motivation helps, but you need purpose. The thing is, it's a purpose. Purpose builds motivation, right? But that's like writing goals, like that's a fucking, like you need to, man, I would say, I'm doing shit I do every morning that if you would have told me a couple years ago, this is what you're going to be doing, I'm like, dude, fuck that corny shit. I ain't going to be writing. And I'm not saying no affirmations to myself and write. Dude, ever since I've been doing that shit, everything has changed, bro. Like if you want something in life, you have to write it down. As simply as putting it on a fucking paper and posting it. But you have to manifest that shit, and you have to make that dream become a reality just by already believing in it. Like you already have to tell yourself it's happening. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And once you've written it down, you put it into reality. It's real. It's on paper.
Riley, if you don't have that, people like us, Riley, if we don't have that, our lives aren't too great.
Oh yeah, dude. I have to write things down or put things in lists because, like, I'll just lose the day, you know, like I might be productive, but I'm going to forget some shit, or it's just not going to go right.
Right. But, you know, as far as like, okay, I want to talk about something real quick, Riley, because I see so much potential of you not only being a full-time reptile keeper, but you have the presence and you do have the information, you have the energy to really put shit out on podcast platforms. Like, you know, I know you had Carpets and Coffee or Coffee and Carpets. Did I say that right?
Yeah, Carpets and Coffee.
What was the last episode you dropped on that? How long ago? How long has it been?
A couple years. I think I got it into the 50s, and it started with it started because we had just moved up to Sacramento like a year or two before, and I was still like kind of had enough free time, but didn't have anybody to connect with in the community here yet. And I was still trying to figure it out. So I just started doing these random live streams and figuring out YouTube and sort of forcing myself to do that. And then it just grew into a thing where I was doing it every week, and sort of the same people were turning up, and it became fun. Kind of like anybody who's done a live stream will tell you, like, if you got a regular audience, it's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's a great time. So that started, and then it sort of like opened me up into the NPR guys and Morelli Python Radio and podcasting and all that stuff. Even though I was sort of becoming like an NPR groupie, like listening to all their live shows and commenting on, because they used to just stream them live, but then have like a Facebook chat for it. And so I used to hound the host during the live shows as like an eager beaver kid, you know, or not kid, but like a new Morelia face, right. Like, you know, just like, and like if you go listen to older recordings from like 7 years ago or whatever, 8 years ago, you can hear them Owen just stopping, going, "No, Riley, damn it," just saying shit like that. But I just became like an obsessed sponge with it, and so yeah, they started growing, and I was like, man, they need to. I feel like more people should hear this. There should be more of a production for this, and more people. And so it turned into like exploring doing more shows, and then the idea of a network sort of came about, and having other shows under one umbrella brand, and it just sort of blossomed into that as the same time as the rest of sort of the reptile hobby was kind of figuring out that there's all these other creative outlets for content in the podcast and YouTube world. And so then it morphed into me sort of becoming like a part-time staple within the NPR crew, and we moved Carpets and Coffee under the umbrella of NPR, and then my work schedule changed, and at the same time I was feeling like I was doing too many things at home and work, and my balance wasn't good. And so I was like, hey guys, my work schedule is changing in a month, and I didn't want them to move their scheduled days for podcasting and stuff. So I just let it like kind of just ride and go. And I just bowed out essentially. And over the last year and a half, I've just kind of mentally struggled with whether or not that bothered me or not. And it doesn't, because they've taken it and done more with it than I could have. They've gotten a coffee sponsorship out of it. They like make it another sort of low key, less intense level of production and standards that, and it's like more of a free flowing NPR sort of a deal with more fluid, you know, topics or guests or whatever sort of thing. And so it's a little more low key. And so it's, people love it. And I don't want to change anything for that. But, you know, when I pulled away from podcasting on like a once or twice weekly basis, what I found was I was able to achieve a stasis with my routine and everything here. And then now I'm kind of at the point where like I can fit YouTubing video stuff in weekly and other social media stuff and everything else. And so like, I don't know, I kind of sometimes find myself itching for more.
Yeah, you know, you get props to those guys, man, because those are also like kind of pioneers in the I guess podcasting scene or radio station scene.
Yeah.
But it's also like not easy to do because, like I said, just because like to have the balls to start a show, and you know, even if you're in the game for only like what 5 years, that ain't shit. Like I mean, these guys have fucking quite the resume, and like I said, I only had the balls to start this podcast, not unfiltered, because Forrest was like, I'll back up the information, you just be the mouth, and I was like, well, fuck, I could do that. You know what I'm saying? But at the end of the day, man. Dude, I mean, like, if it was up to you, would you have your Carpets and Coffee sessions still rolling out on a consistent basis if you could, like, just, you know, make it that way right now? Or are you happy with? Are you happy? Are you happy with what you're doing as is?
You know, that's a good question. I would say, since they've done so much with it afterwards and done a great job with it, and they've got cold-blooded caffeine involved, which they do Snake Discovery coffee and a few other.
That coffee really good. Let's be honest. Anyone tried that coffee? Because I
hear nothing but good things about it.
I love coffee. I'm a big coffee guy. So if that thing's bomb, I might have to holler at them.
You want to hear the ironic thing is like
Yeah,
part of my personal journey to like control some of my like impulsivity and some of things is like I cut out caffeine for the most part. And
wow, I can't. Dude, I love caffeine too much,
bro. I still love coffee. Like it's part. Like I used to be a French press a day every morning kind of guy. Black coffee or
black, bro. No milk, no fucking sugar, just black, baby.
All day. Black as the metal.
Yeah, I feel like I'm just like in the caveman. Even though cavemans didn't have coffee, I'm just saying like I feel like I'm a man.
Yeah, I just grew to love it.
Sometimes I don't even wash my coffee cup for like a week. I don't give a fuck.
No, it's like a cast iron skillet. You let that sucker build up some flavor. You get your chain link scrubber, and you don't use any soap or nothing. You just let that sit on there. You scrub it off, and just wipe it, pat it, re-grease it. Yeah. So it's funny because like.
So wait, how long have you been off? How long have you been off coffee for now?
Over a year.
Ooh, man. And did that hurt in the beginning? Like was it a struggle?
It was a struggle because my body was getting used to it, but honestly, I don't know if it's biologically possible. Like I'd love to speak to a doctor, but I think I drank so much coffee that my stomach started rejecting it to the point where like I would feel like nauseous drinking coffee.
That's not good.
And I literally quit cold turkey. It was like, whoop, done. Put everything away and was like, that's it. Damn. And I think a week or so of like my stomach adjusting, and then we're good to go. And nowadays, like every once in a while, I'll indulge in like one of those like energy drinks that's like part juice, part
See that right there, my body rejects. Like I feel like because I didn't start drinking coffee till like I was like well in my 30s. You know what I mean? I didn't give a fuck about it before then. But before then, I was partying. I was fucking doing pre-workouts. I was fucking drinking, fucking slamming down energy drinks. And I remember the energy drinks started hurting my back. And I started looking up shit, and they had like stuff that like deteriorates your spine, bro, or something disgusting. Energy drinks are terrible for you. They are bad. Celsius is probably the closest to the cleanest, best energy drink you could get. Red Bulls, Monsters, all that other shit are the devil. It's just really bad for you. I think Splurge one every now and you're at a fucking, a fucking goddamn Six Flags or some shit. You're having fun, whatever. But I'm just saying, if you're somebody who wakes up and drinks a Monster every day, or if that's a part of your regiment, oof, man.
Dude, I know people that have 2 or 3 a day. And I'm just like, you ain't going to make it to 50.
Dude, I'm curious, man, because I feel like you and I need coffee. I'm just convincing myself, but now what do you do? What's your routine when you wake up? And let's say you feel a little groggy or something. Like, how do you feel? Or what do you do?
So I set my alarm way earlier than I need it to be. So when it goes off, I'm not immediately stressed like, shit, I gotta get up. And so I hear the alarm and I go, I'll snooze it for a few.
Right.
I'll snooze it for a few. All right. That's 2. That's good. I'll get up. Or sometimes I'll just be like, dude, you did that yesterday. Get up. And I think what I found is leaving myself time in the morning reduces that feeling of like, and that immediate, like, I gotta feel better. I gotta get my head right so I can do this and this. It kind of gives me time to like, I'm gonna wake up. I'm gonna go sit on the couch. Stretch, say what's up to the cats. I'll go to the bathroom now. Maybe I'll eat something. I'll watch something on YouTube. All right, it's about time to go flip the lights on in the snake room. And kind of just like take my time to like wake up a little bit. But the biggest thing for me was water.
Drink more water
morning and just have a quick. It doesn't even have to be a full glass. Just a little thing of water. And if that's the first thing you put in your body to start the day. I started telling myself that I'll feel better. And I think I might have read it somewhere that like it makes a big difference what you first put in your body to start your day. And it probably has greater implications, and I'm like way oversimplifying it. But I just got to the point where I was like, okay, I'm going to pay attention to the first thing I put in my body every day, and I'm going to take my time in the morning, and I'm just not going to rush, because that's when I feel like I don't have time to process and sit and like, if my stomach's upset, go take some Tums or drink some water. You know, if I'm just rushing, then I don't have time. And then I'm already at work, and I definitely don't have time. So it really just came down to waking up earlier and having a slower pace in the morning. Yeah, and making sure I eat something and have some water.
The water is so, I think that's the biggest key is what you're saying, man. That drinking the water as soon as you when you go to sleep and when you wake up, I feel like the water thing is important.
Just a little, like a finger of water, just something. I just, you know, we don't drink enough water in today's day and age across people in general. I mean, here I am with beer, and, you know, in the morning there's like Gatorade during the day and coffee in the morning, which dehydrates you. You know, there's all these things, and so we're like, oh, but I'm taking all these fluids in, and you know, throughout college and partying and all these things, you know, it all comes down to like, oh, did you hydrate enough? Did you take a liquid IV, or did you drink a bunch of water beforehand, or here, have a Gatorade? And I just kind of realized it was like, it's all about making sure you've got sustenance and hydration. So if you knock those two boxes off, you should be good. And then just finding what your body's parameters are. And I listen to my stomach. I listen to what's going on in here, and just telling me, like, hey, that felt awful. Don't do that again. Like, don't eat that whole thing of Cool Ranch Doritos at 9 o'clock.
My thing is I'm excessive. Like, I will abuse something, right? Like, that's just my natural that's my natural, just what I am. You give me a little, I'll take a fucking mile. That's just, it's unfortunate, but that's how I am. And one of the things that I used to do, like I remember forgetting when I was, you know, during COVID, I think is when it all started. But I was like, wait a minute, this is my job. And I will never forget when I got let go because of COVID, or the store got shut down. I was like, well, I'm getting unemployment, so I'm going to pretend like the podcast is paying me this money. So I'm going to treat this as a job in a sense, right? And so I would wake up and I'd be like, well, what do I have to do? I was like, well, technically, like, I got computer stuff to do. I could get high right now. I could smoke right now as soon as I wake up at 6 a.m. or whatever. I could drink coffee and get all jacked, right? But man, I would have crashes. Like I would have an energy from like 6 to 8 a.m. and then 8 a.m. would come. I'm like, I need to go back to sleep. And I'd be asleep for like 4 hours. So then what I learned is like, hey, idiot, how about you don't drink coffee right away when you wake up? Like give yourself some time to wake up first. And mind you, I just now changed this within the last year. So I'll wake up and I won't have my first cup of coffee till like 3 hours after I wake up. I'll basically make myself earn the cup of coffee. And then by that time, when I have the coffee, I'm already sort of up where it's kind of making me like, I'm like, ooh, I'm already kind of like wired right now.
So you don't need as much.
Because when you're drinking coffee and you're dead ass tired, what are you going to do? You're going to drink that shit. And it's like, but then putting that much caffeine in you so soon, so quick is what gives you such a hardcore crash. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's, the coffee crashes are the worst. I fucking hate that shit. But anyways, and then also smoking too. Like, God damn, I abuse the shit out of smoking. Like, getting fucked. There's no way why should I be at 5 dabs before 8 a.m.? That don't make any sense at all.
I know how that goes too, man. It's just one of those things where you're like,
less is more, bro.
Something builds up, and so you just, without even realizing it, you're like, no, you know, this is what I need in order to feel what I want to feel. And next
it's just like, you're like, oh, you could bring 19 females if you want to this year, but why do, like, it's like not necessary in a sense. Like, like, you know, just because you can do it doesn't mean you should. And I'm just so weird, bro.
Life lesson.
You know what I'll do, bro? Oh my God. Like I'm a fat kid at heart, and I'm still kind of fat, but I'm just saying Chip Ahoy cookies, right? That's my thing. And I take a whole row. Like if you notice, if you open up Chip Ahoy's, there's 2 rows. Okay. My one Chip Ahoy session is 1 row for sure. I need all that. And then I put it in a I take all those cookies. I used to break them up, but I don't even break them up no more. But I take that whole row of cookies, I put it in a fucking glass bowl, and I put milk in it, and I drink that shit. I eat that shit like cereal. It's the bombest shit ever. Now, mind you, if I do that now, I'm not gonna be feeling good. I can't pull that shit off anymore, bro. I used to, and it was great, but now
I remember when I hit 30, and then I had a pizza, and I thought I about died the next morning. I was like, what the hell happened? I used to my stomach put a whole loaf of bread and a whole thing of pizza down, and But no, I'm the same way, man. Like I I can't do that shit anymore. Like every once in a while I'll indulge, and then the next morning I'm like, bro, we've talked about this.
Yeah.
You can't eat gummy worms by the bag anymore.
Oh, bro, yeah. I keep the sweets, man. Because my wife will every now and then she'll have like this like sour fucking craving, and she wants like sweets, and she doesn't abuse any. Like she knows how to do it right. But me, like I'm like, oh, we'll be in bed. I'm like, oh, you're eating sweets, and I'll be like, give me that bag, and I'll just fucking murk the whole bag.
Yep.
And
Yep.
and then I'm going to bed feeling good, right? I feel great going to bed, but I'll wake up like, oh my god,
yeah, destroyed. You're like, why
did I do this? I can't. So candy before bed is not chocolate. I can chocolate and I still get along very, very well. And I'm so
there's something to be said for that. Chocolate does, they always said the old adage, everything in moderation. There are some potential health benefits to like pure cocoa and small amounts. So like chocolate will give a pass, right? But obviously moderation. But dude, I'm the same way, man. Like I love salty, crunchy things, like savory, salty, crunchy. Game over. Like the extra toasty Cheez-Its. Oh, game over.
Dude, you want to hear something bomb right now at Costco? You have a Costco obviously by you, right? Okay, guys, I at first thought my wife was on crack when she was like, "Hey, try this," and it's like a bag with caramel popcorn with cheese puffs, or it's like a cheese popcorn, but it's also with caramel candy. And I thought, why the fuck would you want that mix, bro? That shit right there is like crack. It is the bombest fucking combination I ever had. It's a huge bag at Costco. It's a caramel popcorn and cheddar popcorn mix. It is so bomb. Okay. That bag lasts for 3 days.
Next trip to Costco, I must be sober. Otherwise, we're gonna have problems.
You have to brush your teeth afterwards, or your teeth start to hurt. Like it's that much, bro. It's super, super bomb. I gotta tell you.
Those sound delicious. It sounds like right up my alley, man.
Yeah, Costco is dangerous, man. You want to talk about a bang for your buck, man? $2 a hot dog and a drink, bro. Like if you're on a budget and you're just like, I'm starving, oh my god, go to Costco. You're good.
So in college, I went to UC Santa Barbara, and where I lived in Isla Vista, there's a Costco literally like a 5-minute drive. Like I've walked to that Costco before I've been so hungover and desperate. That's how close it was. The chicken bakes back before they shrunk them down.
Yeah, dude, bomb.
Bro, I used to live at the Costco food court.
Yeah, I'll never forget, man. I forgot what it was, but there was definitely a time where I was like on a commission-based job, and I just started, and I was struggling, because obviously I made my money off commission. So like, I'll never forget. I was like, damn, I got like $6 in my pocket, and I was like, oh my god, Costco, and two hot dogs in, bro, and I'm fucking just like the best, happiest person on earth, man.
Oh, and those are good hot dogs.
Yeah, because it reminds you of like the stadium dogs from like Dodger games and like Phillies games and shit like that.
Hebrew Nationals, like good ingredients, like really good fresh buns. Like, bro, Costco's. Yeah, shout out to Costco. We need a Costco sponsorship on here.
Dude, oh my god, that's all I need is fucking dude. Man, shit's bomb though, man. My combo now though is slice of pizza and a hot dog, and I'm fucking. Look at the calories. Not that I give a shit, but you look at the calories on a pizza. There's more calories because cheese is that much more fattening than pepperoni, I guess.
Oh, maybe they just load it up with an assload.
Yeah. Because you would think, oh, I'm gonna be healthy today. Let me just do cheese. No, motherfucker, that's the fat move right there. Just so you know.
Just filling up your even more.
Oh man,
getting the meat.
I got a wrap up topic for you, and I have hot seat questions 2.0 for you. So we're gonna end the podcast style, okay? But wrap up topic for you right now. Let's kind of help anyone out there who's just coming into this kind of have something to be excited for, because we all know, Riley, people dump money into whatever project, and then what do? They have to wait, right? Yep. But people don't understand that the waiting game is the hardest part, because you're seeing other people be successful. You're seeing other clutches be dropped. Hell, you even see a snake be produced that you're waiting 2 years to make, right? But how do people stay in the zone? How do you not worry, like, especially if you're just trying to wait for your moment, but you're just, you're waiting. How do people keep their head in the game and not be distracted by what other people are doing? What's your advice for people out there?
That is a challenge today with social media being so right in our face. I would say if you're in that boat, take a mental note, take a quick look, give that person props, put the phone down, and go right back into the snake room and keep grinding. Keep following the footsteps that you've laid down and trust in the process. If you've set a goal, bust your ass to achieve it. And if you see somebody else a few steps ahead of them, congratulate them, support them, and you never know what'll come from that. But like be happy for them and just keep grinding and trust the process, because those first couple of years while you're building the collection or you're waiting things to finally hit maturity to breed, yeah, it sucks waiting for everything to get there while you're seeing everybody else already doing it. But trust me, once you get there, oh, is it worth it? It is worth the wait. It is the best feeling on the planet. And then you'll also find a lot of wonderful people who love and support you and are hyped on your achievement too. So you'll start a beautiful base of supporters around you, around something that was monumental in your first time accomplishment. And time is just, it goes by. So enjoy it and just trust the process.
Yeah, because I mean, here's the thing. When you are focused on what you have going on and it starts rolling, time flies, man. And then you're going to realize a lot of the shit that you were kind of concerned about just isn't even, because one thing Forrest used to always say to me, he used to fucking laugh. He's like, MJ, you're so like me 10 years ago, because you give a fuck about so much shit that doesn't even matter. And I'm like, yeah, whatever. This guy's an asshole, you know, like, but he would like just laugh at me. And he's so right, man. It hasn't even been 10 years since I've been in this game, but it's like, dude, so much shit really doesn't matter. But what matters is what you have control of. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And a lot of people, like you said, man, be happy for other people. Who gives a fuck if that person produced something that you haven't produced yet? It's not what you made. You'll make a different version of it. So who cares? Be happy. Congratulate them. Being more congratulated for someone just makes life easier, man, versus just being salty, you know?
What I'm learning currently right now on a day-to-day basis is that putting in the effort to feel gratitude and give gratitude back, it might take a little bit more mental work to remind yourself to do, but the dividends you get out and the dividends that those around you get out are exponentially greater, and it puts you on a path that you can never expect, because you're throwing your desire for control away, and you're just living in the moment, being happy for somebody. And I mean, what more could you ask for? That sounds like putting a smile on my face and somebody else's face. That's a win-win right there. So if you just, it's hard, and I'll be the first to say I am not good at keeping that in perspective, but the folks that do, that I see that are regular, like they're always stoked, always positive, always hyping somebody else and supportive. That's how I want to be. That looks good. That looks like it feels good, right? So I think that's the way to be.
Yeah, man. And you know, I will say one of the biggest pages out of my book of things that I'm learning this year is like not worrying about so much of people who don't support me the way they once supported me at some point, because things change, man. Like you know, first and foremost, people outgrow other people in whatever way, but not everything. But it's part of life. You know what I'm saying? And I remember how like I always wanted people to always fuck with my podcast. And you know, mind you, I've given people a lot of reasons sometimes to like not really fuck with me no more. And I understand that, but I can't let that just be something to eat me alive over. And honestly, like that's like people are allowed to fuck with whoever they want to fuck with. And I used to always care about like, well, you know, you can't really fuck with me if you fuck with somebody who hates me. But at the end of the day, bro, it is what it is. It fucking is what it is. And who gives a fuck? Like, you still got someone who supports you no matter who they support. Who gives a fuck? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, and I'm still learning too, man. Like every day is a new day. I know people like us have to continue to do the harder thing. And the harder thing is keeping our shit together, bro. Like, it's not easy, man. And I know it, but that's our go-to, is to do the harder thing and just let that shit roll off our shoulders. And, you know, just because a lot of things too, Riley, like the way we take things could really just ruin potential good relationships with people that we don't know that we could really take off with. You know what I mean? So, and I would hate that. the reason why I wanted this podcast so importantly with you is because I want you to realize your potential. I want you to realize how much an influence you really are to people, because there were over 100 people tapped in for over an hour at one point on tonight's show. So people were definitely here to fucking hear what you had to say, but you have so much going for you, bro. And with me and you, we're only going to be our worst enemy. Nobody could deteriorate what we're doing but ourselves. You know what I'm saying? But I also just feel like you definitely have already what it takes. And I know a big break is coming your way, Riley. I just have a feeling. But you just got to keep your head in there, man. And just we have to continue to do the harder thing, and that's taking the higher road. Like, it ain't gonna be easy, because you know how people test us, bro. Like we be tested. That's just how it is. You know what I'm saying? Because we're passionate. We're passionate. We don't fuck around. We don't like seeing things that are red flags. We don't like seeing faulty shit. And that's what we kind of go in on. But we kind of like if it's not our battle, it's not our battle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, that is something that I am actively working on. That if it's not our battle, it's not our battle. You really gotta be careful with that. And I can't appreciate you more for saying that. Like that means a lot. It was very, very, very well said and very meaningful. And I don't think you can understand how ironic it is to hear some of those words of support from you right now, just in my own head of things over the last few years. It's kind of like
it's full circle. It's like a full circle moment, huh? You're like, whoa.
Yeah, and it feels like the universe is playing a really sick but positive game. Yeah,
it's like the Grinch's heart growing. You're like, what the fuck is this?
Yeah, no, it's really weird, man. It's like, you know, when you have like a moment of like almost deja vu or some weird feeling, and then like all the hair on your arm stands up and you can't.
It's Forrest. It's Forrest right now, bro. I'm telling you, he's patting us on the back. He's like, damn, man, thank you guys. Like, this is all he wanted. Is like, he wants people who have a fucking influence to stick together. Like, that's why, like, you understand how many people Forrest fucked with that didn't fuck with Barczyk? And did Forrest ever let that have a damper on the relationship with Barczyk? No, he stands 10 toes down, didn't give a fuck. Okay, that's how you feel about Barczyk. I'm still going to his place. I don't give a fuck. And he loved that guy. He showed the genuine love. And you too, Riley, like, even before this whole thing that went down between you and I, you were also put in a place where people were telling you not to fuck with me. And I remember when Ian Bessel shared those fucking screenshots, and I fucking was like, what the fuck?
Ian. Much love to Ian.
Shout out to Ian, man. I haven't talked to him in a while, but God bless that guy, man. He's something else. And I know he didn't have any malicious intent. He was just giving me a heads up. But then, you know, that's when Ian knew. I was like, damn, he's quite the head case. You know what I
mean? But then again, that just goes back to the whole, like, that's when I took it and fucking made it something that it didn't need to be, you know, right. Like,
and it didn't. No, but here's the thing. That's the story with you and I, period. You know what I'm saying? But it's not forever. And right now there is a clear change in both our paths, you know? But we have to hold ourselves accountable, bro. No one else is going to make sure we stay on top of our shit but ourselves. So you writing shit down, you figure out Riley, man, and me figuring out MJ, that's going to be a powerful thing to just shit on any hater, bro. Like, I'm telling you right now, we get ourselves together, bro, no one's going to fuck with us. We're unstoppable. You know what I mean?
One of the best things Forrest ever told me was, like, if you just put all that shit aside and you just work with people and just collaborate with people and just find the good in what they do and just do that, you guys, there's no telling where you guys can go.
Yeah, it changes the whole platform and the game plan of anything that you're doing. You know what I mean? The whole dynamic changes by doing that. So what a great and powerful podcast tonight. I appreciate you so much, Riley. 2 hours went by quick. I have these new hot seat questions for you if you're cool with that.
Let's do it.
Okay. Guys, do me a favor. I haven't bugged you all night yet, but I'm bugging you now. Get the likes up right now. We had about 110 people tapped in at one point. So please, likes up for Riley. Hot seat questions coming in. Did we ever do hot seat questions on I don't even know if that was the thing yet.
Yeah, it was like show 20, so I'm not sure if you had them ready.
Oh my God. All right. Well, some of these might be the same, some might be different, but this is a new 2023 hot seat question edition for Riley. You ready, Riley?
Yeah.
Here we go. Coming in hot. Favorite arboreal snake?
Do carpet pythons count?
I mean, whatever. If it's an arboreal snake, it's semi-arboreal, so I would say so.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, and that's why my thing is like semi. So like, do you want me to be strict, like things that never touch the
No,
ground?
I want to take that back. Fuck that. Chondro, locality chondros or designer chondros?
Locality.
Favorite locality chondro?
Although I have a sarong who's absolutely blowing my mind and beautiful right now, I fell in love with Jayapuras very early on, so I'm gonna have to say Jayapura.
Would you ever cut an egg or never cut an egg?
Oh yeah, cut an egg for sure.
For a carpet python, what day would you have to cut an egg, you would say?
After the first pip. If it's been 24 hours and there aren't any that have pipped yet, open them up.
Day average of the first pip on a carpet python clutch?
53.
Ideal temperatures for cooking a carpet python egg?
87.
Pre-first shed meal or post-first shed meal on a carpet python?
Generally post first shed. I like to let them sit for about 5 weeks, honestly, to let them get super hungry. But there's always one in a group that like won't have its first shed for like 3 months, and you just feed them, and eventually spurs their first shed just later than others for whatever reason. But yeah, generally always post first shed.
Okay, what about an established neonate? Feed in shed or not? Don't feed in shed. Like, let's say it comes with the time, and you're like, "Whoa, I should be feeding you, but you're in shed." Do you feed it or do you not?
I'll offer it, especially if I don't know one way or the other what the animal's tendencies are. I'll offer it. But if over time I found that the animal generally doesn't want to eat in shed, I'll skip them.
When pairing carpets, prefer to do at night or daytime?
Daytime.
To spray or mist a carpet or to never spray and mist a carpet?
I don't know if I've ever sprayed a carpet.
Wow, humidity's on point then.
Well, so I grew up being told that you don't have to worry about it with carpets, and although we have really dry air up here in Sac where like humidity's in like the teens, I still rarely run into issues, and it's usually mitigated just by having a water bowl with a large enough surface area.
Yay imports or boo imports, Riley? That was your call.
Yay imports.
One reptile you would import to your collection anywhere around the world, what would it be?
Apodora.
And he already has them. I love it.
There's no such thing as too many.
Oh, you're not. I mean, do trust me. You know, I
love them. I absolutely love them.
Yeah. What about one reptile that you could think of that nobody should import ever? Leave it alone. Don't touch it.
Komodo dragons.
Respect. Yay sports or boo sports?
Yay sports.
Favorite sport of all time?
Probably football.
Nice. Favorite football team of all time?
Niners.
Damn it, man. I'm not gonna say nothing. We're
Raiders have my respect because they're California and the East Bay.
It is crazy. I don't really understand because I'm not from I understand the rivalry between Raiders and Chargers. I
love rivalries.
I hate, but there's some crazy heat between the Raiders and Niners, man. Like I'm gonna be honest, I never really hated the Niners, but once I went to an Oakland Raider game, I was like, wow, fuck the Niners. Wait a minute.
It's hostile, bro. It's real hostile.
It's like gang affiliated. It's like, whoa, relax. You know what I mean? Fucking anyways. All right. West Coast rap or East Coast rap?
West Coast, Mac Dre till the day I die.
Oh, let's move it forward. I should just end it after that. That was that awesome. All right. Little word association. First thing to come to mind: milk,
babies,
stuck, stuck shed,
soak.
First time carpet python breeder.
Exciting.
Instagram trolls.
Never heard of them.
FedEx shipping.
4 out of 5 leaves room to be desired.
Morph market.
Used to be good.
If you had to eliminate one subspecies of scrub pythons, what would it be?
Subspecies.
That was a curveball, huh? Got him.
I think I would get rid of the hounds.
Damn, really?
They're like a
hypo scrub.
I know personally, I think they're pretty and everything, but like, you can't beat a Barnack or a dope Southern. So like, or a King Horneye, which you can't even have in the States. So like,
or
there was
Highland.
scrub to rule them all. It ain't one of those. So,
damn, there you have it. Raw, but the truth from Riley. Riley, listen, we had over 110 people tapped in at one point. Okay, all here to show you love. What do you have to say to everyone out there? But maybe even someone out there who knows? Maybe the paths weren't so smooth when you guys crossed and they were listening to tonight's episode. What would you have to say to even people like that tonight?
I would say if I've, well, it's actually funny that you bring that up because I was thinking about that today. Like, if there was a way to put that out there, I'm sorry for any less than positive communication that came from my end, and wasn't deserved if that happened. And I can do better and be better, and I apologize. I don't expect anybody to give me the time of day after something like that, but if they were to, and there was anything I could offer them, I would like to think that I would be more gracious and considerate the second time around, having come, so far and still on this journey of learning. But I would say you also don't owe me anything. So if that's not in your interest, you're fully entitled to that. And I don't want to bug anybody. I don't want to cause drama in anybody's life. And if, somebody's interested in giving me their time of day and energy, I appreciate that. And moving forward, just know, I'm not perfect. I never will be, but I'll always be aiming towards as close to that as I can be. And if there's anything I can do to support or help anybody along the way, I'd be honored.
What do you have to say to everyone who don't want you to be sorry and they just love you for who you are and they just rock with you? Like, what do you have to say to all your diehard Riley fucking fans out there, bro? You got them. I'll tell you that much.
They're the best and they know it, but I don't want to leave them without the pat on the back because they're hands down the reason why I still have any social media presence whatsoever. Because when shit gets tough and I'm at my lowest lows and I'm like, I could just not do YouTube. I could just not post on Instagram. I could just delete all of this stuff. Anytime I have that thought, like clockwork, I get a comment or a message from somebody, whether I know them or they're a Patreon supporter or whatever it is. They're like, hey man, I really appreciate this video that you did. I've learned a lot from you. You've been the reason why I got my first carpet python or whatever it is. I've been watching your videos. Every time I hear one of those things, it could be the smallest, shortest little compliment of support. It literally gets rid of all my desires to quit and give up and stop doing it, because like that right there makes it all worth it. And
yeah,
it's like the most fueling thing I could ask for, and it always seems to come when I need it the most, when I'm at one of my lowest points of just like self-doubt and just being an asshole. And it always, you know what, the universe always has a really funny way of making things work out if you open yourself to it. And I used to think it was just something my dad would say to me. He used to just say, things always have a way of working out. You're Jimison. Things have a way of working out. But what I never realized was that paired with his strong will to never quit and always keep going was essentially just saying, if you keep putting one foot in front of the other, the universe will take care of you. And the more every day I wake up, I believe that more and more. So
yeah. But also, it's like you said, the time when you open up to it is when you start to see the stars align. But when you're caught in your own fucking demons and you feel sorry for yourself and everyone else is fucking with you and
yeah,
they're the problem, not you. Oh my God, you just stay clouded mentally, bro, and you don't see the clear picture. You know what I mean?
Yeah. You can find the negative in something everywhere if you look
everywhere.
Yeah. If that's what you're looking for, you're gonna find it. But you know what else you can find in the same tune is you can find inspiration everywhere.
Fuck yeah.
You know who's inspiring me the most lately? We've said his name a bunch of times, is Barchek. Like, I've been glued to his fucking vlogs, not for any reason other than like I just want to see how he's doing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he looks good with his hair growing in. I'm curious about the trial stuff that he's got going on. I'm really pulling for him. The aquarium's amazing. But like what it all boils down to is somebody who's literally facing some of the highest level of adversity and is taking it on with a smile and being arguably the most strong person in the worst case scenario and being the best possible example for every one of us to be right now. You tell me that's not a sign from the universe that like we need to be paying attention to somebody, we have somebody to learn from. I don't know what is. Like,
yeah,
he's like, you know, nobody's perfect. Great. He's not either. You know, like he's just a great role model of striving through it. And it sounds cliche as shit today, but like the things that sound cliche are cliche because they're true, because they have a lot of people vocalizing it, and because there's something to it, there's substance to it. And so, you know, call it what you want, call it a weird energy from the universe, but I feel weird stuff in a positive way with the reptile world these days lately, and I'm excited for the way it's going. So
that's because you belong to being here, and I know longevity is a part of your game plan, Riley, obviously, because you know, like I did, we kind of made our lives a little harder than it needs to be, right? But guess what? Guess what? We aren't going anywhere. We can continue to make our lives harder, and we ain't fucking going nowhere. But that's not the case. Obviously, we're going against that now, and only things will continue to happen in your favor as far as why you should be doing what you're doing, Riley. So I got to tell you right now, man, I'm looking forward to seeing what 2024 brings, because I feel like more stars are going to become aligned in your favor, and we're going to have more shows. We're going to be talking more. We're going to fucking, you know, have you back on with Nick Mutton. Like, we're going to really take things to the next level, Riley. I'm telling you right now, bro.
I'm stoked. I look forward to whatever the future holds, man. Like you said, and again, like I know you have me on as a guest, and you're the interview viewer, but dude, everybody in this chat and everybody who watches the replays and everything is a testament to your hard work. So don't forget to, you know, obviously it's kind of embarrassing to like, you know, pat oneself on the back, and it seems sort of conceited and everything, but don't forget to take a moment to step back yourself and look at where you've come in the last, you know, 5 or 6 years or whatever. Because I know when you were first getting into things, I doubt you would have ever thought you would be hosting an insanely popular and public and prolific podcast in a very mainstream way, and growing the way you have. I mean, when you first started, look at your collection and look at it now. I mean, I'm sure you've posted it in your stories plenty of times, like something to the effect of, just remember the version of you 5 years ago was dreaming to be where you are now. And it's like one of the most motivational things that always sticks in my head, and you exemplify that perfectly. So you know, as much as everybody's here to like maybe hear me talk or whatever, but they really should also acknowledge that we do listen because you're here too.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it, man. But this show wouldn't be without the guest. The guest is what makes this. I mean, it is designed to bring the best people, in my opinion, who are doing it in the reptile industry to come speak with us, because there are people out there who want to be a part of this for the long run. There are people out there who really just want to be epic fucking animal keepers. But the best way to do that is by hearing from the people who are doing it the best, you know? And that's where it all started from. I think, you know, I always continued to be MJ because I didn't give a fuck if you liked me or not. I'm bringing content that's going to put people on to the next level. But at the end of the day, man, like, I want to be more like, dude, come hang out. Let's learn. Let's have fun doing this. And let's just fucking continue to grow. And dude, things are just getting started, man. As crazy as it sounds, things are just getting started, bro. So
yeah. Historically, what you've done is just like the blip of an eye in terms of time. Imagine what you're going to be able to look back on and think about, you know, 10, 20, 30 years from now. You know what I mean? Like, we have no idea. We can't even fathom what that might hold. But isn't that the most exciting part of it, is like we're on that ride?
I'm just excited that you and I are on that ride. You know what I mean? Like, I have someone, because I just know that time will continue to go by, and not everyone that we want to be a part of this will be a part of this. This is how life is. Some people aren't meant to stick around, But fuck, man, if it's you and I 10 years from now, I'm stoked, you know? And there's other people out there I want on to be a part of this 10 years from now. And I do believe in them and whatnot, but it's all about the longevity, man. And you and I have some history to continue to make, but I'm going to let you go tonight. I appreciate your time. For anyone out there who wants to follow your work, be on top of your stuff, Riley Reptiles on Instagram. And are you Facebook heavy at all, or are you mostly IG, you would say?
Mostly IG, but it populates onto Facebook. I just try to be present on everything. But yeah, Riley's Reptiles on Facebook and Instagram, Riley Jimison on YouTube. I do have a TikTok, but I don't really give a shit about it. I just throw stuff up on there, and like maybe one day it'll make me money passively, but otherwise, who cares? But yeah, otherwise, if you want to reach out to me, Instagram, I'm on all the time, and then I'm up weekly on YouTube posting videos, just trying to keep the presence up.
All right. Well, guys, do me a favor. Go give my man Riley Jimison a follow. Riley Reptiles on IG, and give it up. It's a wrap for episode 422, ladies and gentlemen.
That close to number 420.
I know, huh? Dude, I was like, I felt bad because I had a cool guy on, but he's an older gentleman. He don't smoke. You know what I mean? So I was like, damn it, you should have fucking kind of organized this. But sometimes I do so many, bro, where it's really hard to predict and have certain guests line up on certain numbers, but it's all good, man. I appreciate you so much, Riley. I'll see you next time. Hey, have a good night, all right, bro? Thank you.
Yeah, you too, man. Thank you.
Peace out. Epic episode, man. That fucking episode was fire. Super fire. And mind you, I didn't, me and Riley didn't premeditate any of this. Like I kind of was like, man, should I ask him if we could talk about this? But he kind of knew, like he knew that we wanted to kind of get some of this shit cleared off, and we did. And I'm just so happy and excited for Riley's path to just kind of, grow more and not worry about the shit that doesn't matter. And I know it's a lot easier said than done, because I even get caught up in moments and whatnot, but I don't, I have too much going on. I have way too much going on. He has too much going on. We all have. If you really think about it, nobody should have time to be sitting hating on someone or wanting someone to not be successful. Like, if you have time to do that on a day-to-day basis or at all, you should really reevaluate things, kind of find out what you're doing that you're not happy with. I think you're not happy with how your life is. And it's easy to go after other people when you hate yourself. Understand that, right? A lot of people who are hating others really hate themselves. They hate their lives. They hate what they do. Everything that they do, they hate. So that's why hate goes with hate. So I really pray for all those people, man. I really pray for people to find a better purpose in life. I really do. All right. But on the other flip of things, for all you fucking longevity reptile keepers out there, my people, oh my God, I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's episode. It was amazing. Don't forget to hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, select all. You'll be on top of every single podcast I drop here on Trap Talk Reptile Podcast. 3 podcasts a week, Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. All right. So don't forget, it's going to be epic. Big things to come. I'm ending this year with a bang. December is usually some of my most poppinest podcasts. Okay. I hope you guys enjoyed tonight's podcast, because this is a good little like teaser of what's to come for December. All right. Be ready for next Thursday night. That shit's going to be so heavy. It's ridiculous. But till then, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Help me get to 10K. I'm almost at 10,000 subscribers. All right. So help your boy get to 10K before the end of the year. That'd be great. Hit the subscribe button. And don't forget, if you're looking for exclusive content, if you want to get more out of what you see here on every episode, if you want to just simply support what I have going on, what I'm doing, but if you really want to network yourself with some of the best reptile keepers in the game, go down to the very first link in the description, click on it, join the Trap Talk Patreon family. As soon as you join the Trap Talk Patreon family, you get a link to the Discord that will tap you in with over 185 trappers, and then you get connected to the IG group chat, and then you really start meeting people. Every Sunday, Zoom meeting, face-to-face hangouts with the V-Unit family and the trappers. So part of the perks of being a part of the Patreon members is you get face-to-face with a lot of these people, man, a lot of these heavy hitters. So cannot wait for this Sunday. Cannot wait to see you guys. But again, thank you so much for all the love and support. Thank you for believing in not only me, not only Riley, but just believing in what we have going on, and that's the reptiles. At the end of the day, this is all about the fucking animals. So have a good night. I'll see you guys here on the next one. It's a wrap for episode 422, and I'm out.